In a stone chamber in the Temple of the Maiden thrice, all of you are gathered, huddled from what is beyond the iron doors and the stone wall that Ava built. There's debris on the ground, and you know that just beyond the walls are crawling, writhing, bladed, carapaced insects that would love to make a meal of all of you. The air in this room is a bit musty now, a little warm, and I think I'll say it's Esmond. You maybe quietly in your head have come to realize you have maybe 4 hours of air left in this room. Before you on the table is a journal that you found in the safe behind the painting on the wall that contains shards of blue crystal and an ancient journal. And the illustrations for you, Esmond, are very intriguing. Ava's the only one who can read the language. You know that your friends Salinger and Peach are trapped in the place between. Those of you who briefly flickered into it saw glimpses of them, but you know they're headed into the temple on their side in hopes of reaching the tear in reality. Could potentially join you together again. Esmond, you've have taken apart the door jam device, reworked some of its functions, and you feel pretty confident it'll do the job, but you're not entirely sure how well the refracting sunstone will hold up to the load. It's possible that using it in this way could destroy the gem.
Having that thought, immediately going to check my pocket or my satchel for the other uncut sun gem that we had gotten.
You do have the uncut refracting sunstone gem still that you required in Mirwood. You still have that.
How long would it take for me to cut it in such a way that it would be able to fit into the device if I needed it operational again?
Probably a day, like a day working on it.
Okay, yeah. Noting this, Esmond's going to pin that for later. Slide the book over towards Ava. Hey, looks like you're taking the lead on this one. I can't make heads or tails of it. I'm going to do a double, triple take around the room and see if there's any other way to get out of here that isn't the only exit so far. So let me know if you need anything.
Okay. Oh, and hey, do you think that, like, you or Casey could try to map out kind of where we are and if we're near anything else?
Yeah, I'll run that by him first. I'm gonna I'll let him get started. I'll jump in to help, and then, but in the meantime, I want to. Maybe Sal Luis was just like to have secret doors. Maybe, hopefully.
She says, looking at the lines she's read so far. I think that she seems like a very surprising person. And she sort of turns and keeps reading and furrows her brow as she reads.
So as Esmond leaves the table to go consult with Casey, give us a little glimpse of Beth, Ishtalan. What are they up to?
Ishtalan, after thoroughly searching the inside of the safe, she's essentially pressing every single surface with the palm and poking with her finger to see if there's a hidden entrance or exit through there.
Roll perception. You do, in fact, find that there is a small, like a plate on the, like something that you could unscrew maybe on the bottom of the safe. A compartment.
If my thieves' tools will do that, then she will try to unscrew.
Okay. Roll, I'm gonna have you feel that. Yeah, you take your thieves' tools and you carefully find something small enough to work the screws. Yeah, and within you find what seems to be like a cache of potions.
How many?
4 potions.
She picks them up carefully, one by one, trying to give them an assessing look and see if any of them match her knowledge, as far as like superior healing or things like that.
These potions are darker in color, and you've only seen them once before. I think Ava has one.
She, after seeing if there's anything else there, she has scooped up the shards that were the blue shards that were in there, put them into a pouch, and then she also scoops these up, holds them between her fingers, and turns back towards the nerds in the room and says, "Do you recognize any of these?"
Oh, those. I'm sorry, she says, setting the book aside for a second. Those look similar to. She looks through and says, I've had a couple of those. I've never been able to figure out what they are, though.
You don't know what they are, but you did determine that the aura, magical aura around them is necromantic in nature.
Got it. She says, I don't know what they do, but they are. They're necromancy magic based.
This priestess had some secrets, it seems.
You have no idea.
Well, I don't know what they are. I suppose I'd be willing to drink them if it came down to it, but does anybody else want one? And she holds them up to the room.
We should probably...
Otherwise, I'll keep them and I'll just drink them when the time comes.
I don't know if I could encourage...
Yo.
Casey, come on.
Casey's pulling books off of the shelf, trying to find the one that opens the secret door. Yeah, I'll take one.
Give him two, give him one of the vials. Anybody else?
Guys, I really have to read this. Please don't drink that stuff before we figure out what it is. And she, goes back to sort of reading.
It is not the time. And then she's gonna go give one to Kibeth. Probably one to Esmond. Who else is left here? I think it's just me.
Yeah, the potions essentially have a black, viscous liquid inside. Does not look appetizing. And there's almost like a golden mote. Maybe like a gold flake, but it catches the light in a strange way, floating inside each one.
Kibeth will... You, interrupt Kibeth in the middle of doing something, and she takes it, and she's like, "What is it?"
Do not know. Doc said that it was something... Did you outright say necromancy? Yeah, you just said necromancy. Okay. She said that it was something necromantic, but she did not know what it was, could not figure out what it did. It doesn't look tasty, but I suppose if our backs against the wall, maybe turning into a zombie is better than getting ripped apart by bugs.
Maybe. Thank you. And she tucks it into one of her belt pouches, and she's been busy staring at the doors that we came through. She spent a bit of time kind of checking them to make sure they seem really, impenetrable, like it's not going to burst open if the bug's trying to get through there. She'll kind of look around them to see if there's anything she could put there temporarily. She does, she assumes we have to go back out, but she doesn't want them to get in until they're ready to leave. And I think she had finished that probably by the time Ishtalan came over, and she was in the process of doing her weapon inventory, making sure that her weapons are where they needed to be on her body for quick release. And she's polishing the sword up a little bit when Ishtalan came to interrupt her. She'll resume weapon cleaning.
Yeah, roll a skill check that might be related to your knowledge of like masonry or structural integrity, whatever you think makes sense. Something like smithing tools would make sense.
I
Masonry
can roll smithing tools. Do you want that as a skill or just like investigation?
Either one, whichever you prefer.
I've never rolled tools before.
Yeah, so you have your knowledge working in the
Wait,
smithy, and
do I get advantage? Would I like? What if I roll really, really high, Chris?
do you get advantage?
I didn't input that. It says that. Wait. Why does? All right, it's fine. Go with the 21. I can't find where that came from.
Sure. Yeah, given your experience and working in the smithy and helping to repair things now and then around Shepherd's End, you, this stone wall is layered quite thickly. I think it's more than a foot thick. And the other side of it are heavy metal doors. You've heard some of the insects banging on the outside for a while. Even that's kind of a muffled sound. You would have to be, it's not to say that it can't be broken, but you would have to be extremely strong to get through this door.
Yeah, I think that's why she relaxed a little bit and started preparing her weapons. Instead, she's, in the middle of polishing up the greatsword and checking to make sure her armor is latched where it needs to be.
Yeah. But Esmond, as you notice Kabeth checking the door, just a reminder, you have about 4 hours of air in this room.
Yeah, Esmond doesn't say anything.
Sure.
Ava's pacing around just a little bit, sort of as she reads through this thing, and sort of stops and like thinks about some of the things that she's reading before she goes back, and she starts skimming through some of the pages, trying to just go through the journal to at least get some of the information. And she eventually like closes it back up and sort of like looks around the room, and everybody is in there, maybe starting to perspire just a little bit, just because it seems a little muggy in the room, actually, surprisingly. And is kind of like anxiously looking at the book. Before I get started, Chris, can you remind me with these characters, what is ancient history something that Sal would like have known and studied? Or those myths? How far back does the history of this continent kind of go from our education and the things that our characters would know?
Yeah, everything since the establishment of the Kingdom of Lux is considered like proper history. Things going back farther than that, it's a little fuzzier. Scholars might argue about the truth of some things, etc., etc. But you know vaguely that there was an elemental event that essentially resulted in Genasi being in your world. People started becoming born as Genasi. You know that there was after that actually was a demonic incursion. The dwarves held some resentment about that. That you knew in Shepherd's End. You know that there was a great cataclysm 1,000 years ago. When the sea caught fire, mountains fell down, things like that. And then in your lifetime has been the appearance of the Octurne, its breaking apart, and the appearance of the White Tower.
Okay, the cataclysm is... Okay. Yeah, Ava sort of puts the journal down, sort of like this, opens back up and looks through pages, and is like, looks around and realizes that she is the only person who can read this book right now, and says, guys, I feel like I need to share this just in case something happens and I don't make it. And I don't want this is wow. And she like goes to sort of like sit down and says, this is Saloise's journal, and she is, unless this is just some sort of, I don't know, attempt at a fiction of her own creation, but if
Spit it out. What's it?
she's old. She's like really old. Saloise was alive during the cataclysm. She was around before the kingdom. She fought in the Abyssal Wars. Like she didn't just fight in them. She was in the vanguard of it. So, from what her testament says here, it's with the Abyssal Wars, I think about 600 years ago, when demons started coming through, they had to figure out why, and she was one of the vanguard that went into their dimension and discovered the source of it. She came across something called the Prince of Secrets. The Prince of Secrets and Lies. And apparently he forged a fragment, a crystal, and he used a fragment of his own soul to somehow use it to channel and create this doorway. It was in the process of trying to make a doorway so that the demons, even the strong ones, could come through. Before that, it was just the small ones, like that would show up every, so often, but the larger ones couldn't. But this would make a bridge. It would let them come through. She stole that, though. She took it, that fragment, and she was able to come back to the material plane to prevent them from having it. That fragment, she dedicated hundreds of years of her life to protecting, to making sure it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. But over time, it started to break down, and she was afraid of the evil that it might release. So she did a ritual, and she was hoping to bind the power of this into something in our world. I'll have to go back through and read it, but it didn't work the way she wanted it to. It made Araya. That energy formed into her. She calls her the princess of the abyss. So she, unexpected to this, decided to keep her and raise her. She came out here and had her raised in this environment and watched her grow and develop, looking for those signs of evil that might come out. But as the years went on, it was just Araya, like we know her. But that spear, I think the one that Sal has, the fragments that remained after Araya was born, she took those and crafted them into the spear just in case, before she knew who Araya would turn into. The spear is made just in case Araya's, I guess, is bad. I know it's a lot. I skimmed through as much of it as I could. It's just Saloise, Araya is literally was made from this fragment.
If you do something bad, but then it results in something good, even if you feel like you're doing something bad during it, but you trust your friend is good, so you do it anyways, but then it still feels weird, but then in the end you get something good out of it, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
More to the point, does it mean anything to us at this moment?
I don't know. I feel like... what does it mean? What happens if Araya dies? I mean, is that energy in her? Is there... I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't even... I mean, I literally learned about this minutes ago. I didn't want this to get lost. Usually I wouldn't have said anything, but... like, it's kind of something I feel like she should know. But she looks at the door. I mean, who knows what might
She's
happen.
currently water, and we are currently trapped. So, honestly, at this moment, the odds of our seeing her again seem pretty slim, so I would like to put our attention back onto getting out of here alive, and then we can worry about the rest.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're right. We've got to focus on what's in front of us. She looks at the book. I'll read it a little more carefully and maybe make sure I didn't miss any details. But I guess it's not really... Yeah, never mind. Do we have that map? Casey, were you able to, like, map out where we are?
Yeah. Knew she was the Maiden this whole time. He points to a piece of paper on this scattered desk that when you go over to is a series of squares with hastily drawn arrows that lead into other squares, presumably to a portal.
What would this...
What you find looking at the map that Casey has drawn for you. The room that you're in is... what's the word? It's an alcove in the stone of the mountain. There are not rooms beside you or behind you. That big iron door is probably, after checking thoroughly for secret passages and books, and doesn't seem like there's any secret way out of this room. The door that you came in, the one that you sealed, is going to have to be the way that you eventually go. Yeah, in terms of reaching the tidal, or the pool chamber that has the tear the last time you were here, it's far deeper into the temple. You essentially be taking a left out of the door that you're at. That's the direction you were trying to go when you were overrun by the insects.
So, it's just a matter of going from here to here. No problem, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. A few bugs in the way, huh?
Well, Casey starts snapping to himself, and each time he snaps, a ball of fire appears in his hand, burns for a moment, and then extinguishes. Yeah, got a plan for that.
Okay, should we try to get some rest here? I'm pretty well tapped out. I know we took a nap, but, like, I'm still pretty exhausted. I don't have much left in me, guys. If anyone gets hurt.
You, just so I don't forget that they're there, sitting in the corner, Albrecht. You see him double-checking the fletching on some of his arrows, counting how many he might have left. You see him checking the details of his equipment, weapons. You see him every now and then just staring at that door with an uneasy look on his face. You see Somsel has kind of gotten under Saloise's desk, and she's kind of curled up against the side of it, and she's holding her wand of magic missiles kind of tightly in her hands. You see Fane sitting against the wall. He's got the shield of Brunhilde, the golden shield. He's got his arms wrapped around it, and his hands are like resting at the top. And you can't hear him, but he's looks like he's kind of mumbling as he's kind of staring forward. Staring forward. But it's you pick out after a moment, if you're nearby, they're prayers. He's saying prayers to Brunhilde.
What does Fane look like after the stuff that Ava just revealed?
That's what he's doing. That's he was a little more active before that.
Out of character, would you remind us what Saloise's race is?
Frost elf.
Thank you. Okay. Esmond is going to stand from the corner in the back room, having thoroughly searched again for any secret way out of here. We don't actually have time for to be able to rest long. We've got maybe 3.5 hours of air left in here.
What? We're gonna.
Yeah, no. This room is airtight, apparently, based on the design of the door and the fact that there's no airflow whatsoever anywhere out of here.
Is it possible, do you think, to reach around this stone wall that Doc made and open that door a little bit and get some air and let the bugs pound against the stone wall instead? Although that would not make for a very restful night, I will say. Also, I think it would kind of spoil the idea that I had of perhaps all of us hiding in the escape hatch and seeing if they go away after a little search.
Is that out of character? Is that safe area that was behind the painting? Would that be big enough to hide everyone in this room?
No, I assume you're talking about the hidey hole. The safe is like not even maybe Samsel if you broke her shoulders.
We're not counting on any ideas yet.
We could maybe do. I mean, it's not the worst idea to try to open the metal doors. They'll crack open, but they'll only open so far as the stone doors, and then we'd have air.
Maybe. I worry about the bugs. Obviously, we all worry about that. But we may not really have much of an option, I suppose.
I mean, I'm certainly basing this off the idea that you've done a very good job of using the stone wall to block the entrance. It's flush up against the metal. So unless I'm misunderstanding something fundamental about what you did, you would need to probably compromise both slightly to allow air to get in.
Let's hold off on making that decision yet. Let me take a look at this map. I want to see if I can finesse out all the. Wow, this is terrible. Finesse out all the details of any potential routes that could take us to the portal, so that we know what all of our options are on trying to get there if we can get out of this space.
Does anyone have some kind of magic that can just make a hole in the wall or the door or the ceiling? It doesn't have to, it's something small enough that the bugs probably can't through, or if they can, only like one at a time. And then I could let some air in, and I could stand there and try to kill smash bugs that like it just pops its head through, and then I smash it and then push it back through to get in the way of the other bugs, and then we could keep them from coming in, but we could get air, and that would buy some time.
I can try, yeah.
But it can't be too big of a hole, because if it's too big of a hole, then they can all get in all at once, and then we'll just have another door that we can't see.
Yeah, I can try to make a hole that is big enough to get some air in, I guess. Would that work? Do I have to make... Would one hole be enough? How big would it have to be? I don't want to make a tiny hole, and you say it's not big enough.
Almost any
Oh, big-
breach that would allow air to get in would be fine in terms of the breathing side of things.
And we need to
like
figure
making a
out...
hole is that by doing so we alert them that we are in here, and so that sort of means that we have to fight them eventually.
Don't they already know we're in here?
Yeah.
Yes, but like I was saying, there's possibility that depending on if they can see invisible things or no, or magic, if we could let the door crumble or something, as if whatever we are using faded away, and then we're hiding instead in that same sort of dimension pocket space that Edmund made before. They can do that as well. And if you are simply not here, then they might think that we simply teleported out or used a portal or whatever.
Just as an observation, previously you could hear the creatures like scratching, trying to get through the doors. But they stopped doing that after a while.
The other alternative is to make a tiny little hole. They know we're here, and still hold up. Pun unintended. We sleep as best as we can, and then we just try to fight our way through, which is the same thing that all of you yelled at me at, and so we would be doing it anyway.
What if we do both? We make a hole. We determine that we're safe. We sleep, and then we do the hidey hole thing and hide, and then make them think that we've left. That way, everybody has energy to fight.
No, hold on. These things have dug through the mountainside. They can dig through the stone here like it's no problem. If we give them
They
any...
went through the dirt before.
Yeah,
We
remember?
specifically went to the mountain to avoid them digging through the stone.
Yeah, that way they couldn't come up from under us.
Which isn't saying that they could not still do that with more time and maybe, but at least it's not as easy as it was for them before.
It may be our best bet, maybe, yeah. It doesn't sound like that they're as ferocious outside the door currently, so maybe let's give it a bit of time. They may have given up or were forgotten, and...
I mean, if Peach were here, she could shoot some air holes in the door.
Someone's going to press her ears up against, in whatever crack in between these stone and the metal that she can find, and see if she can hear whatever's going on, muttering a little bit to herself in the way of, alright, you can do this.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, a stone wall was magically created that completely conceals the metal door, so there's not a way for you to access the metal door.
Okay, then she's just going to put her ear up against the stone.
Okay. Roll a perception check.
Can I cast guidance on myself before I do this?
Sure. Yes, yeah, you listen very closely. You don't hear any noise, which is not surprising because I think with this thick of the stone, something would probably need to be in contact with that metal door outside for you to hear very much, or be incredibly loud, like if there were an impact or something smashing the ground or rocks falling, you would hear that, but you wouldn't hear things just walking around.
Well, you're right. They're not scrabbling at it anymore, at least.
Okay, where am I gonna make the hole? She's looking around the door and at the wall, trying to remember where the passage is on the other side, in terms of around the door and the passages that are around where the alcove is.
Are you trying to get to the? You're trying to access the metal door through your stone wall, you made?
Yeah, no, just trying to, in the room we're in, determine mentally where could I drill a hole, where would that hole come out. I know where it is, like right around the door, but let's pretend I move a few feet to the right. Does that start going down the hallway that we were fleeing down, or a little bit to the left? Does that go deeper into the, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to get an idea of where I can put this hole, what my options are.
Where it's like just a wall and it's not going into the mountain.
Yeah, I don't want to just basically make a hole and then be like, oh right.
I see what you're saying. The metal doors take up the width of the room. If you're trying to reach a side room based on Casey's map, you're probably looking at 100 feet in one direction, and you would be all the way out the front of the temple on the other side.
Okay, so unless I affect the stone immediately around the area of the door, I basically am surrounded by hundreds of feet of rock.
Yeah. So imagine a square, right? One side of that is the doors that just go into the room next to you. The problem is the other three sides are just mountain.
Got it.
There is a chamber farther north, but it's about 100 feet.
Yeah, she sort of shakes her head. I'll have to make it'll have to be kind of small. It's basically the same size as the door is about how much I can affect, so it'll just have to be some vents, I guess, sort of above the door, maybe? I think that might work.
That's kind of what I had in mind.
Could be less noticeable too, perhaps.
Better view, advantage on watching if they start coming through, potentially.
Okay, now...
Although putting it lower means we would have a better chance of killing them the second if you make it too big by accident and they come through.
How big are you making this?
And she holds up her hand for, 2 inches in diameter or something.
We've only seen really big bugs, right? We haven't seen any tiny bugs.
I don't think so.
I think we've seen the small flyers, which I think were creature-sized small, or were they creature-sized tiny?
I think they should be small and close to the floor, personally, but you do what you think is best.
I don't know. Feels like a risk either way.
Sure, but if it's close to the floor and they somehow figure out how to widen the holes or something goes wrong and the hole is big, it means there's no flying bugs coming from above that we can't immediately reach. If they're below, they have to come from below, and then we have a chance to smash them.
Well, we're not hearing the bugs anymore.
And I hope we continue to not hear the bugs.
Yeah, I mean, the bugs are dumb. They're just gonna do whatever bugs do. But they're not all dumb. There's some smart ones. So the smart ones might know we're in here too. Which means if we slip out and make a distraction or something, and he pulls out the wand that creates loud noises and fireworks and spins it in his fingers, and he's like, so if we slip out and make a distraction, that'll probably bring most of the dumb bugs. But the smart ones still might be waiting.
Doc flinches a little bit as she sees you twirling that thing, shuddering at the idea of the noise. Okay. I'm gonna try to put it at the top. Just in case... I don't know, for some reason I have this weird... I don't know.
They can crawl on the walls. What difference does it make if it's up above the door or not? For them.
Yeah.
I still think you should put it down low.
You might be right, but I think I'm gonna try to go with my gut on this one. And she starts to weave her magic, and what she tries to do is cast She tries to cast Stone Shape above the door. What she's trying to create is a sort of long and two small concentric circles that kind of form next to each other. Think of like two toilet paper rolls that sort of are like right next to each other, so as to make it kind of like very small, but to have two of them.
Okay, I think I understand. Yeah, link me the spell. And what's it look like when you cast it?
She's saying some different word. Oh, by the way, this is at this is at 6th level.
Good.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep. Yeah, this is, told you I got nothing. So she sort of runs her hands along the stone, sort of feels out the different places, and then has these and as she sort of feels around where the space is, she starts to rub her fingers around them in sort of what looks like an infinity sign, and then slowly it starts to shake just sort of a little bit and warble, looking like it sort of fades in and out, and then just sort of morphs into these two concentric circles that then go all the way down from the room they're in into the exterior, other opposite side.
Okay. Yeah, this affects up to
Arrow, just in case.
This affects up to 5 feet, so that's plenty of room. Yeah, and so you see the stone shifts and the cracking sounds as it moves, and then fresh air. You feel in your lungs, and you realize, oh man, how long has it been since you had that feeling? And you realize you're feeling a little foggy. You didn't even notice it. Now you feel better.
A little bit happier. A little.
She stops after she does it and goes, and then realizes after she does that, she kind of holds her finger to her mouth and is like, we have to be very quiet.
And you do hear the clicking of carapist claws in the stone outside.
She's not gonna try and listen again. Except she's not gonna cast guidance this time. Because that's not. Check perception.
You don't necessarily have to roll. What are you trying to do?
She's just listening again now that the holes are there.
Yeah. Same thing. You hear like clicking of things moving around. If you had to guess, there are some things kind of close and some things farther away. The distances, you can kind of hear the echoey clicking. There's many a bug, but they don't seem to be concentrated around the door.
Doc does this pantomime where she points to herself and then puts her hands next to her head, pantomiming sort of sleep, and then sort of points over in the corner.
Casey takes a deep breath, and the dim magma lines that run across his body brighten up, and he looks down at the map and scowls a little bit, and then starts straightening up the lines, making them more precise.
Yeah, and just being as quiet as she can, being really mindful of each of her steps. Ava tries to find a place next to the wall to kind of sit down, and then tries to sits down and then tries to sort of rest her head between her knees, with the journal sitting in her lap, as she tries to just close her eyes for a bit and breathe the fresh air and think.
Yeah, within a few moments, the fresh air coming in through the small entrance above the doorways is refreshing everyone in there. Some of you might have realized that, man, you're having trouble concentrating, but things seem to be getting. Yeah, you feel more yourselves.
if we're talking about long resting, Esmond would be willing to take the first watch.
Yeah, Ava looks pretty exhausted.
Beth will sit up with him.
She'll probably be last.
So, we're gonna try to just wait them out.
She leans close to Sopsal, like she's basically doing all of her talking in whispers next to people's ears, and says, "I think the idea now is just to get some rest because we're all pretty beat, and our chances of getting out of here are a little bit better if we. Well, I don't know about the chances of our people on the other side, but at least our chances of staying alive are a bit higher if we can get some rest. We'll see if they get bored. I doubt it exactly. But they'll be left to try, maybe."
Okay. Well, I don't think I can sleep, but I'll just try to rest as much as I can. When you see, at this point, Fane has closed his eyes. He's still muttering and whispering against the edge of the golden shield. And you see, it looks like Alberic's finished whatever he was doing with his arrows, and then he kind of goes over and crouches next to all of you. Says, what's the plan?
Shalana repeats the plan so far. Or rather, I think she'd probably just say the plan for right now is to get some sleep and then see what happens for the next 6 to 8 hours.
Enough. And then he seems to find some books that look more comfortable than the other books to lean against. After a little bit of time passes, who are the people? Who's on the first watch? Esmond? Who else? Kabeth? Okay. It looks as though the others are, asleep or close to, or something like that. Esmond and, give us a little Esmond and Kabeth scene.
Esmond is properly situated at the desk, with using his magical tinkering ability. He's created a small light source that's providing just enough light for him to do work, but doesn't potentially attract anything from the outside through the hole. He's got it covered in such a way so that it doesn't escape the room, and he is going back and forth between fixing up O's map and using his all-purpose tool to begin cutting the sun gem, the uncut sun gem.
Kabeth is not too far from him. She has found some kind of chair to sit in, and she has her head trained towards those holes, and she is, every once in a while she'll hear a soft noise, and she's like, but then she realizes it's her friend stirring in their sleep, and then she'll hear another noise, she's like, and she's like, somebody just kind of rustled a little bit. She relaxes, and the entire time, her sword is perfectly clean, beautifully polished, but she has the cloth out and she's just nervously polishing it just to keep her hands busy and keeping her head trained on. She gives Esmond a side glance as he starts to cut the stone. She's like, "That won't be too loud."
Esmond turns the gem, and you can see that maybe the hour that we've been up so far, almost no progress has been made because he's trying to do it as slowly and quietly as possible.
she looks at him, just like, how's it going?
Like, in with the gym or in general? Because neither is good currently.
If we weren't so exhausted, I would ask if somebody, knew how to make things quiet. I feel like Araya was able to do that. I wish she was here. Wait, maybe it's better she's not here? No, I miss her. But, Esmond, what if she... You don't think she's evil, right? Like there's been some weird stuff around her before, and like sometimes things goes missing, but that's not that weird. That's not that, like, it's clearly not her doing it. Well, it is, but it's not her. But but like, you don't think she's evil, right?
She's the strongest force of good that I think we could ever come across. Furthest thing from evil that I could ever imagine. I think she's fine.
She and I dropped blood into the fire of my forge once because she thought it was a good idea. That's definitely fine, right? Like, I kind of got like there was something living in it, and it kind of gave me some, well, not Casey's fire, but like other regular fire doesn't hurt me as much anymore, which is why it's not so scary to forge, and that's totally fine. That's like so normal, right? That's normal. That's not evil, right? Doing blood to fire, totally fine. It's just like roasting meat, but you're not cooking yourself. You're just
Yeah, I think that's just girls bonding.
normal girls who are friends stuff that you do when you hang out. Yeah.
So was it? Wait. So was it her idea?
Well, I was sleeping one night, and I woke up and I realized that my forge was lit, but I had definitely put it to sleep. It was definitely out, but I definitely woke up in the middle of the night and it was on, and I thought it heard it say something, and I definitely wasn't sleeping. I was totally awake, and I put the flame out, and I just said, "Go to bed. It's time for sleep. We're gonna make stuff tomorrow." And I put the flame out, and then another time I told Araya about this, and she was like, "We should sacrifice something to it." So we tried to give it a cookie, which was very, very precious to me because those cookies were delicious. Your mom made them, and well, that didn't work. And she said she thought it needed to be something more important. So we thought blood. Yeah, blood is important. And so we gave some blood to it, and it did a thing, and it was like connecting me with the force of the forge. And yeah, so my forge is sentient. Did you know that it might? I mean, I really haven't heard it talk since, but I also haven't been around to. She just watches Esmond put his head into his hands, and she just trails off, just like, this is why I hadn't told you about this yet, because I knew you'd react this way. But like at the time, like Araya's, like you said, Araya's the goodest person that I know, and I trust her completely. But now, the journal says that she's got this evil thing inside her, and then I'm like, what if she thought she was doing good, but she's actually doing bad? And can bad things seem like good things sometimes? I don't know what to think anymore.
So that whole forge thing, that's something that I fully believe. All things considered, I just accept it at face value. If something like that happens again, just let us know so we can all kind of figure it out together, maybe. Regardless, I believe that it's fine. would trust Araya with my life. I don't think that there's an evil cell in her being.
Not even her tail that still sings.
Her tail's mischievous. I wouldn't call that being evil, though.
Fair enough.
Also, she's apparently a princess, so we have to do what she says.
That sounds good to me.
I miss her too.
I hope we find her soon. Really soon.
We will. We will. We have to. I have to find her. I have to make sure that she knows. I have to apologize. We'll find her.
We'll find her.
Time later, Casey, you're on watch, and Somsel sitting next to you, just kind of got her legs folded beneath her. You see her. She's she's got the wand in her hand that you've seen shoot blasts of magic energy, and she's got something with it. There's at least it can work a few more times. And she's kind of muttering to herself.
What's wrong?
Oh, well, I've been using this wand to fight, to help everybody, and the thing is, every now and then these things stop working. And I just don't know how long it'll work.
Well, why do you need that stick?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean, it seems like it casts magic, right? Why don't you just do it?
Oh. She kind of blushes and looks down. She says, I can't do anything like that. I find things sometimes. And some of it's really old.
What do you mean you can't? So you can't cast magic? Have you tried? Have you ever tried?
Huh? Well, I mean, people, they didn't really like magic a lot, where I came from. So...
I mean, that's beside the point. I mean, if you like it, you want to do it?
Wait, could you show me how?
Well, I mean, yeah, and he snaps a finger and a ball of fire appears in his hand.
Oh, I've seen you do that before. I haven't looked up close, though.
Yeah, I mean, fire is probably the easiest, but any of the other things are pretty easy as well. But basically, yeah. I mean, so you gotta feel like a heat inside of yourself.
Okay. Okay.
And
she kind of puts her hands up. She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." And what do I think about?
Well, you start with the heat, like in your core, and his magma lines kind of brighten up a little bit, and you let this heat kind of radiate out through you until it feels like your skin is on fire. And then once your skin feels that way, you snap and you get a ball of fire in your hands.
It's amazing. Okay. Closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and she snaps her fingers. And you hear it echo off the walls in the small chamber. Let's roll a d20. You hear the sound of some activity outside through the little holes above the door. a quick flurry of clicking, and a couple shrill noises. She freezes. Nothing happens. She goes,
Casey puts the back of his hand to her forehead. You're not nearly warm enough. So, I mean...
but wait. I think it worked, though. It just didn't do fire.
Well, you did something different.
Well, like I snapped really loud and nothing heard is.
I mean, that's not really magic.
Mean. I mean, what are the odds?
I mean, yeah, I guess being able to do things like that and having it unhearable. But we want fire. That's really what we want.
Wait, well... that, I don't know if I can do that right now, but do you want to see some of my stuff? Because I can make fire.
Oh, yeah. No, if you have other things that can
Yeah,
make
check
fire.
this out. Here. And she kind of takes this bag and she's like, okay, this bag. Look, it's only like as big as both my hands, but there's like so much stuff in it. Check this out. And she kind of reaches in, she pulls out a pair of goggles. She's like, this, I can like see even if like it's really dark, right? And then she like reaches in, and she kind of opens her blouse up a little bit. And she's like, the shirt, see this chain? It's like really light and it's like soft against my skin, and like if you were to like stab me, don't stab me, but if you were to stab me, like it would keep me safe. And then
Casey
here, look,
drops the knife that he just pulled out of the air onto the floor, and it promptly disintegrates.
yeah, and then this wand here, like you've seen it, and then look, and she kind of reaches and she pulls over this like stick. It's got some little green leaves on it. It's like this. I could heal you if you were cut by like, hitting you with it. Like, it's really cool. And then this ring that I'm wearing, that's why I wasn't cold. Like this ring keeps me warm like all the time. And then like wait, she reaches in. See these things? It's like a flute. But if I play it, like rats will come running like all over the place. And then like
Good.
this, see this little wand right here? Like I could make it sticky. And then like wait, this necklace,
The wand sticky.
no, like everything, like all over the place. And then see this necklace? See these little beads on it? Like there's only 4 of them left, but like they make fire like everywhere, like a lot, like a whole lot. And then see, oh, my slingshot. Look, this is cool. And then like see these little stones? Like I've only got a couple of them, but they like pop like really loud and it hurts.
Pop loud. No, that's good too. No, all of these are great. Like, you should use all of these. I think, but also like when you use them, kind of take in how it feels, like when that magic happens, and internalize that, and you can kind of work out how that the stick or the beads or whatever is doing the magic. That way you can do it without the thing.
I actually have more stuff. Do you want to see the rest of my stuff?
Yes I do.
Okay, see this ring here? Like, okay, this ring, I can swim really fast. One time, like I entered like a swimming competition with some children. Like they thought I was a child and I beat all the kids. And
Why would you?
I got first
do
place.
What?
It's,
Oh.
I mean, I won. And this lantern, like, if you can't see something, like, and I shine this lantern on it, you can see it. And see this? Wait, look at this gem. Like, if you look through it, see how you look through it? Like, things are kind of. I mean, it's like there's kind of like there's like 2 or 3 things, but like, even if something doesn't like look like it itself, and you look at it through this, it like looks normal.
So it like sees through disguises.
Kind of. She kind of starts stuffing the stuff in the bag.
Oh yeah, because I've only seen you use that stick. You should be using all of this stuff.
Well, I can't use it all at the same time. I mean, yeah, I just use some of it. And then some other stuff different time.
Well, I mean, I think the fire one's really important. I mean, the stick, I think that, I mean, you should be able to figure out the stick. I think that would be pretty easy, pretty basic stuff. And it seems like whenever you like go to use it, you really want it to work. And that's crucial in casting magic. You have to really want it, you know?
Is that how you do it?
Well, yeah, when I'm first learning how to do something, like, he kind of gestures towards Ishtalan, wherever she's sleeping at. It's like, so, she knows this spell that makes, you know, people really quiet and like be able to sneak around and stuff like that. So I just kind of watched what she did when she cast it, and like kind of thought on that for a little bit, cleaned up some of the messy spots, and now I can do that.
You can just see someone do something and then you can do it.
Yeah, but I like really wanted to, and so that's what I did.
Have you ever done anything no one else has ever done before?
I mean, I brokered peace with a race of subterranean creatures living under our hometown.
What?
Yeah, it's called the Feldspar Accords. Have you heard of it? Like, it was such a good deal. We went down there. We were like, hey, you guys don't come up here. We won't come down here. Everything will be cool, yeah? And they were like, okay, totally. That's fine. Yeah, worked out great. Everyone's happy.
So, just pulling back as Case explains the entirety of the Feldspar Quartz to Samsa, who is listening with complete and total interest. Sometime later, or perhaps at the same time, Peach Pine and Silas. You have moved through the, if I remember correctly, you've gone through the door on the deck of the Tide Song. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That door has led you, strangely, back into the temple that you were seeking. You have reached a chamber, pools of water, and there above the central pool is a tear in reality, like a wound in the world. It's flickering with erratic energy. And Silas, you have seen tears, certainly, like this before. Kevin's on AFK, right? Is he AFK? Then that's it. Yep, okay.
Here's Silas.
Oh,
Here.
no.
Okay. Peach feels all these emotions. She sees the terror all by herself, and she defeats all of the bad guys.
All the bad guys. Well, you have no one to roleplay against because Silas isn't here and Sean's here. So, as you come into the room, that's where we'll pause for you. Come back.
All right, monologue time.
Yes. We'll come back to you. Back in what may be the real world. Ava and Ishtalan, the two of you are on watch.
think you just made yourself.
I
Whoa.
did. I decided that whatever the grease stuff that was on my fingers would be a great idea to.
Oh, they love this effect with my promised filter.
Talk. Glamour
It's like
shots.
it's like $150 lens filter right there.
Throw some Vaseline on that camera.
Oh my God, Doc,
Right
you look
on the-
amazing.
Right on the sensor.
All right, I'll have to clean
Clearing
this.
out all of your flaws.
Yeah. All right. Well, someone take this picture. This will be the dating profile picture.
Dreamy little hearts in the corners.
Yeah. Yeah. Ava finishes sort of resting. Like, her head kind of comes back up from lower heads. She sort of yawns, realizing that she may have drifted out for a little bit. She's not exactly sure, and looks around as the shift kind of moves. Casey and Samsel start getting tucked away, and her and Ishtalan sort of are woken up. She doesn't really know what to do. They're in a tiny room, so she just stands up and I guess... what is Ishtalan doing?
I think she woke up in her usual sort of jarring way, as in she's just laid out flat on the ground in a corner. I don't know if her invisibility works when she's sleeping or not, but it'd be very funny if it did. And then her eyes just pop open when someone trips over her or goes to wake her for her turn on the shift, and Kim pops up and does some stretches. Does a little bit of a warm-up routine, so to speak. Essentially a little bit of yoga with her usual sort of uncanny, slightly disturbing level of flexibility. And you hear some pops occasionally as she stretches out and she'll like behind her head and all that. We're just going through it a little bit more slowly today just because, or right now just because there's not really anything else to do. And she knows there's going to be on watch for a while. But she doesn't say anything. And once she's through her little cycle, then I think she just sits on the edge of the desk and just fixes her gaze on the stone door and just waits.
After she sort of finishes, Ava sort of flicked back and forth through the book a little bit, trying to just familiarize herself and see if there's any details that she missed when she was trying to read it more quickly. But when she gets done, she sort of puts the book aside and goes to join her, sort of sitting, I guess, on the table, like next to her. Just sort of like sits there for a bit, and then you sort of notice that she's kind of like looking at you, just kind of like looking, and just says, you guys are so different.
Sloan slams the sidelong book at her from the corner of her eyes, and then turns her gaze back to the door.
She goes, I wanted to ask before. Shalati is so important. I just can't really picture a world where she's not around. But what was it like where you're from?
Pretty shit. I mean, shit. Pretty shit. Especially without her.
Yeah. And she just sort of keeps looking at you. And she looks at the door. And then sort of looks back to you. Looks back at the door. Says, she's, I've missed her a lot in the past. Since she's been gone.
Someone once again sort of slowed her sidelong look and then just a little huff.
Yeah, even Ava doesn't look back towards her. She just sort of keeps looking at the door. The difference between them sitting on the table is probably a bit amusing, as I imagine. One of us has our legs that touch the floor, and the other is sort of has them dangling a little bit. She just sort of looks out towards the door. She doesn't say anything for a little while. And then she's like, yeah, I just can't picture what it'd be like without her. She kind of holds everyone together, it seems like. You know, like...
Are you trying to rub it in?
No. Not trying to rub it in. I just wanted to talk about it, I guess. And part of me thinks I kind of need to talk to you before we leave this room, and if we're lucky, make it to the next.
Why? We both have the same goal here, at least. But I don't need to hear about how well you know my sister, how much time you've spent with her. I don't need to hear about the depth of your friendship or whatever. I just want to get her back. And I'm pretty sure you want the same, but other than that, I don't think we have anything to relate about.
I think there's a little bit of a fear that whenever Ez changes that door, you're gonna try to go through it.
Sure, I have not made that a secret.
Knowing your sister the way that I do, I don't think that's what she wants.
As you have noticed, as you noted yourself, we are apparently not very similar.
Maybe not. But I think the reason you want to go after her is because you love her. You miss her. I think that we're motivated by those things, but I think sometimes if you really mean that, you're not just saying it to justify what you're doing. It means doing things you don't want because you care enough about the other person to do what they would want.
What she wanted was apparently to keep herself stranded there and leave me here, which is not what I want, and I think what she wanted was dumb. And I think as the older, I have the better sense here. So I do not really care what she wants in this regard. As long as she is safe, I'm going to find her, and if she is mad at me, then she can yell at me.
Yeah. That's where I think, knowing her now, things kind of go in different ways. If you try to go through, some people might try to stop you. Maybe they go through, follow after, maybe we all get separated. Think if you do manage to find her.
You would just be in the exact same situation you are now, so I don't see how it makes a difference.
For someone who's spent time in that place and knows the things that are in it, I don't think that suggesting that we're safer or here or there, the danger's there. I mean, we're stuck in this hole. We've got a million bugs on the other side of it, and it's still not a fraction as scary as the thing over there.
So what's your point?
I think that your motivations, what you want, I don't know if it's really love that's motivating it. I think that it sounds like you just feel like you're not strong enough to keep going without her. It doesn't really matter what she wants. Doesn't matter if you hurt people. And I think if you knew her better, you'd realize she's not gonna just be mad at you if people get hurt trying to help her. You'll lose your sister in a way worse than you have before.
At least then she will still be alive, though. Which is more than I can say for me or for the other place that I came from. And I don't know what you think you are trying to accomplish here with this psychoanalyzing, but anything that you say is only hardening. Unless you're trying to get me away, in which case you're actually doing a very good job at this right now.
Well, I guess I just understand how to care for her a little bit different. If you went through and we get her back somehow, she asks where you are, we tell her you went looking for her, I know that she's just gonna ask one question. And you let her go? And I'm not gonna be able to...
Sounds like a you problem.
I'm just letting you know. If you try to go through, I'm gonna have to stop you.
You're welcome to try. You can't.
Well, I guess we'll see. But take it from someone who's known her a lot longer. You're doing something that it's just, you're gonna regret it. Even if you find her.
She doesn't say anything to this, but her breathing is a little bit deeper. If there's no light here, you probably can't see her, but if there might be a dim light or something around in the area, in which case maybe you see that her nostrils are a little bit flared, but her eyes are still fixated on the door ahead of her.
Yeah.
And then, maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, she says, "Doc, you're a bitch. Just a serious fucking cunt, and I'm really surprised no one's ever called you out on that before."
Like I said, you guys are very different.
Wait. Test this up. Sean. Are you here yet? Do we have Sean?
I'm here, but my good mic is not picking up. Do I sound terrible?
Not too bad, not too bad. You'll just have to speak up a little bit. Okay. On the other side, in the place between Silas, Keach, and Salinger, you have gone through the door on the deck of some other Tide Song. And it has led you back into the Temple of the Maiden Thrice, or some go. Some other place. Moving through a long hallway, you begin to see a strange light rippling on the walls, and as you pass from the hallway into a large chamber with a pool of water at its center, hovering above it in the air is a tear in reality, like a wound in the world. And Silas, you of course have seen this before. It's the same sort of tear you've encountered a few times now. The one that you warned Ishtalan that she could not pass through, because she, like you, was dead. What do you guys want to do?
This is, for comparison's sake, is the tear that we're looking at like the largest that Silas has ever seen? Like, is it similar to like the one that's in the prime plane?
Yeah, it's similar to the other ones you've encountered. This one's, about this. It reaches from like floor to ceiling, but
Not like bigger than the one we sent the big whale guy through.
yeah, it's so.
Well, I'm asking because I, if I'm remembering right, the tear that's in the temple in the prime reality is like, I think you described it as 30 feet tall or something. So is this one of a similar height?
I don't remember being 30 feet tall, but it's the same. It's the same tear. It's the one hovering above the fountain. Yeah.
I'll get that right one of these days. That is a big motherfucker. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, it's gotta be. I don't imagine that there's another one around here. Although, I've been proven wrong. Now we just gotta wait until, I don't know, until Esmond opens the door for it.
Right, I have a few questions. Actually, you know what? I have a number of things that I need to note.
Question?
Silas is going to find a spot to get comfortable, and he kind of just lays out against a rock.
Hey, Silas, can I ask you a question real quick before we get started with these questionings?
Oh, please, yes.
Could you promise me not to do that thing again, where you took my voice away and then tied me up and scared the hell out of me? We can like we're allies now, right? I don't need to worry about you doing that because I can't stop that from happening, and it may be the most frightening thing that ever happened in my life.
You charm me. No, yes. I promise that I will not use that on you again. To clarify, we've always been allies, but...
And finish what you're saying, but pause after what you say, Silas.
Yes, I promise I won't use that on you again. To clarify, I've always viewed us as allies, or at least allies of convenience at the very least, but that's neither here nor there. You have my word. Scout's honor, if you will. I will not use that particular ability on you again.
Yeah, pause just one sec. Peach, double check your microphone. It sounds like you're using like your webcam mic.
Oh, sure. And you quit. I need to quit Discord. Give me.
Tell you what, let's take like just a 1 minute break. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but continue.
Silas had sat down against a rock and was going to ask us more questions, but he promised not to use that particular spell on Peach again. Yeah. At that point, I think Peach looks at Sal and just gives him a nod and says, "What do you think? You trust him?"
No.
And that is the smart man right there.
Yeah, he's pretty well-rounded. Well-built and all, you know. Anyway, what questions do you want to ask?
get yourselves situated. We don't know how long we'll be here, anyways. And Silas is like splayed out. He is as comfortable as he could be in these surroundings. Who is exactly opening the how? Maybe is a better question. How is that tear to some other reality that you could cross over to now going to be altered in such a way that you can return to your prime place of being?
That was several questions. Esmond Clockwright is who? How he's going to open it, I'm not really sure how to explain. This a little above my comprehension. He uses a device, and he's been able to manipulate these portals in the past. The specifics of it are complicated.
In the past he's been able to use it to close portals. We had an incident where there was some big sea creature, right? And we were able to, negotiate with it really and send it back home. And in another case, Esmond closed up a hole that was, sending vicious creatures into our land. But yeah, he can close them. And I guess I'm hoping that he can open this up to find us. I don't know if this idea is going to work. I mean, she kind of cuts eyes at Salander. She's like, it's just the only thought I had was, let's go to a place where we know there is a door and hope that our friends open it from the other side.
Previously, we encountered a tear in our version of the temple that led to another place. I guess the hope is that Esmond can redirect it so that we can pass through that same tear from here, since it is in a similar place. That's a concept. I get that close to right, Peach.
Yeah. The one in our universe opens to like a horrible desert plain.
You said a device. This isn't the blue coward that I had seen previously, is it?
What are you talking about, blue coward?
We talked about Rude.
We've also got a lot of blue friends that blue folks who we are friends with. You need to be a little more specific. I know plenty of blue folks. And she gestures at Salander.
He's meticulous and careful.
You can't just say blue folks either, or that blue kid. He is meticulous and careful. He's the smartest person I know.
Yes, he's the person you're thinking of. It's just not a nice way.
No, he seemed quite cowardly, but that sounds impressive regardless. That sounds like a bad idea overall, but what do I know?
Do you have a better one there, Silas? What else should we do? Wander around this in between for how long have you been here? Decades?
Oh, it is.
Wax.
It is difficult to say how long I've actually been here.
Yeah, so at least we got a plan.
Oh no, I and it's a plan that I will follow through with you to the end to hopefully get you all back to where you belong. Maybe you can resolve the situation on your side of things. I can try and do what I can. I can't cross over regardless, but for that matter.
Wait, why not? Ain't you from Eisendale?
Oh, no.
We discussed that.
I can't go anywhere. No.
So you're dead in Eisendale? So is Ixalan. She's over here. Why not? There's not another Silas bumping around. You can probably go right through. She does not know if this is accurate or not. This is her thoughts.
Is there another Silas? Maybe like a light one?
Oh, these are astounding questions. Let's put a couple pins in these. I want to tackle these things in the order in which they were initially brought up. The portal, it's being altered in such a way to lead back to your realm. I say it is a bad idea. I don't say that I say it is a bad idea in the sense that upon its execution, the Angel of Doors will most likely find us. Not in that it is a bad way to get you home. So, ergo, if this plan follows through. Do you have a way to close the portal? Because I do not.
Same blue coward, similar device. It usually takes time, though. How fast do you think this would attract the attention of the angel?
Near immediately, but as far as how quickly it will show back up, that's difficult to say. It's not even necessarily guaranteed that it will show up. I
Yeah.
just predict that it will.
In your experience there, Silas, has the angel of the doors been able to go through any doors? Or are we safe from them if we go through to our own prime material linked to our version of our world?
I've never stayed and watched it. I tend to avoid it at all costs. It's how
Can you say Asmund is a coward?
I'm a survivor. It's how I'm able to help you in this current state. You're welcome. As far
You've been
as
so helpful so far.
I have been. As far as whether or not it can pass through these tears, I can't say for certain. I don't see why it would not be able to, although I don't know what its relation is to these tears. It is attracted to them, and it seems to want to close them or potentially find the source of them opening, but I'm unable to ascertain what its true intentions have been up till now.
So you're running from the angel. You're helping us. But it seemed like you were chasing something.
Yeah, what were you doing before you bumped into us?
That is... I love talking about myself, but that is a loaded question, unfortunately. Salinger, what was that question you had asked before? Something about, is there a nicer something? What was it?
Is there another Silas? Perhaps a polite one?
Technically, yes. But not exactly. He's much dumber, much sweeter, and he goes by Bax. And he... Oh...
So, is this an Ixalan and Shalati situation where you and Baxlack had alternate lives and one of y'all died and you exist in some worlds and he exists in others? Who's...
you know what? Sure. For the purposes of better understanding my situation, yes, we will say that's what it's like. I
you
am
can't
dead.
go back because Bax is there.
Yes, sure. I am dead. I died. I existed in the Pale Lands, a place between not this realm, another dimension of sorts where souls of the deceased passed into before being led to their final destination by the Raven Queen. The Raven Bitch, as I like to call her. Something happened, and now I and by happenstance, Ishtalans, to my knowledge, were the only remaining souls in existence.
Wait, what?
Hold questions. Due to whatever happened, it has something to do with the tower, I think. All souls within the Pale Lands vanished.
What?
The Raven Queen, the caretaker of that dimension, the god of death, if you will, vanished.
All right, can I ask a question, please?
Well, you don't stand for interruptions, but yes, please.
Okay, so everybody who died ahead of time before this point, even if they believed in something else, they're still subject to the Raven Queen?
regardless, anybody, even if they weren't particularly faithful or religious. And then those people's souls are just gone now.
Yes, that is generally how it has worked for who knows how long, but
usually they got a place to go, like a nice place.
oh, I have no idea. I only know about the Pale Lands, which is a stopping point, if you will, between life and afterlife. The Pale Lands are just the place where the soul passes through on their travels to the final destination. Regardless,
Thank you for explaining, Silas.
Of course. The tower fell. All souls vanished. The Raven Queen vanished. I was left wandering the Pale Lands for I could not tell you how long, until I came across Ishtalan, who was not in the Pale Lands at the time that everyone vanished. She had somehow traveled through a tear from this realm, the place between, into the Pale Lands. I had her direct me back and have since been here. And that's essentially, well, that's why I am here, but the reason that I felt I needed to be here. I am not a person in the traditional sense. In that,
I mean, they're all kind of people. I mean, like, I know somebody who's a tiefling, like, I know folks who don't even like, you know, I know somebody who's a human, super boring, right? And you know, I know a couple of elemental folk who got born as like regular old humans and stuff. Like, I know plenty of folks.
You've never met someone like me, until recently, to what will be your chagrin, and I do apologize for that, but that's neither here nor there. My manifestation came with an unknown charge, in that I hunt down and annihilate aberrations.
Annihilate?
Destroy, yes. These shadow beings, for example, something draws me to them, something that tells me that they are wrong, that they should not be. And I know that they must be destroyed at all costs. It's why you, Salinger, are so very interesting. Because you've been tainted. You have a scent about you of being touched by the shadows. There's something in you that is not right. Which is what
closer to Salinger.
Which is what led to my initial questionnaire, if you will, not too long ago. Which, again, I apologize. We are on better footing now. We are. But I went about it in such a way as to make sure that you did not pose an imminent threat to myself or your friend here.
Wait, who was threatening him? Sal's not a threat to me.
The mark on his soul does potentially say otherwise.
I mean, you're acting like I'm not supposed to exist. Like I'm not supposed to be here. That's what you're implying, like those shadow things. Like there's some part of me that's wrong that you need to annihilate or rip out. You pinpoint it, can you see it as like a spot?
No,
maybe it was the arm that got ripped off. I'm already missing one piece.
It's not how a soul works, unfortunately. It is your essence as a whole is tainted.
But folks go missing all the time since the tower fell. Everything's been, you know, sometimes folks will go missing for days. Once I was gone for 2 weeks, and you just don't remember things. You know, it didn't seem that abnormal. Why does he have some kind of mark on his soul, and others of us who've disappeared for less time.
I don't know. I don't know what all is happening on your side. I only know what I know, and what I know is that these shadow creatures, which have only recently begun to pop up, are wrong. They should not be. No arguments to be had.
Do you know where they come from?
No, I don't. In fact, our recent kerfuffle was one of the few instances in which I've had the opportunity to actually fight them. They tend to flee before I have an opportunity to actually catch up with them. I've never had a chance to study them up close.
I mean, we can tell you a little bit about them. We did fight them. I mean, unless that's... Have they always fled from you, or have you at least faced them in combat?
No, that fight didn't teach me anything new, outside of that they don't spill blood, which is such a disappointment. I can't have anything nice.
That's a really weird thing to say, Silas. I mean, I know you're like...
I don't have many things to do around here other than walk. Don't
Folks
judge
don't
me
talk
on
about
my
blood
entertainment.
usually. Yeah, I'm gonna heavily judge you.
I didn't say don't judge me. I said, you know what? I don't care. I could have... why did this happen? I could have been a concubine. I knew a rich woman. I could have been doing nothing and just lazed about. Instead, I have to do something. All this to say, that is why I'm here. It's why I am helping you as a means of helping myself, but also, rolling it back, Ishtalan was dead, correct? She died where you came from?
Yeah, when she was very young.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
then.
she went out on a fishing expedition with her mom, and Shalati was there too, and only Shalati came back of the two of them.
Okay, perfect. So, just like how I cannot cross the boundary, these tears, into your realm, she should not have been able to. When your hot-blooded friend called out to her and she took his hand, somehow she was pulled into your realm, and that is impossible. It is impossible that could ever happen. And somehow it did. But it is impossible.
Well, we've been traveling with Ixalan for like weeks at this point. I feel like I know her as well as I know Shalati. New Shalati. Oh, God.
Right. Another note. Oh, boy. There's so many things that you all don't know. Just keep that in mind. Her traveling to your realm should not have happened. It is impossible. All calculations, all potential magical manipulations that I have considered, all conclude that she should not have been able to pass through to your realm. I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do with that information, but it is what it is.
All right, well, that's all good information to have. And once we go back to our world and we find Esmond, who's clearly smarter than you, he can figure it out using the information you got. He'll figure out what you weren't able to.
I hope he's smarter than me. It'd be great if someone else could figure this out, and then I could just pass on and stop existing. Until then, I'm stuck having to work and be a nuisance to anyone I come across. It's exciting. I have one very important note to the both of you, though, and I cannot stress it enough. Remember when I told you that after the White Tower fell, all the souls, the Raven Queen, vanished? All new souls similarly vanish. Nothing passes through to the Pale Lands. Nothing did pass through to the Pale Lands. Shalati's soul was captured by the Angel of Doors and absconded to the White Tower, along with any other potential souls that happen to pass.
The Angel of Doors is connected to the White Tower. Oh, tell me more about this, please, because I can't. Shalati's soul got stolen and brought to.
It did.
Peach kind of finds where Sal is and leans against him, and she says, "By the way, you don't smell evil to me." And then she'll nod at Silas and say, "All right, explain, properly, not cryptically and weird."
I think there's a chance Kevin just died. His lights flashed. He had a very surprised look on his face, and he has not moved.
Amazing.
That's hilarious.
Is this when his alien abduction happened?
Uh-huh.
It's a good face to freeze on, though.
It's a really good face. I wasn't
Yeah, he
sure
looks
if
so
was friends with
pensive.
him for a while.
Yeah. It took me a minute too. Hell, I was still acting alongside it.
I don't think the whole taint is a scent-based thing, by the way.
Well, man, he was saying that he could smell it on you, and I just want to let you know that is metaphorical. If that's what he's saying, you don't actually. I don't notice any kind of taint on you.
I wish he'd quit just staring with that judgmental expression, though, like soaking it all in.
Okay. You had just asked him to explain something. So, I don't want to just move on to a different scene.
He said it was a brownout.
Oh, no. So
Okay.
power.
So you might have just
Meanwhile,
lost
Sal and
connection
Peach hang
for
out.
a moment. Yeah. Okay. I think I have to do it.
While Peach tries to find Salinger's taint.
I'm dying.
Don't
over here.
call it
Dying.
Everyone takes 1d4 second.
Why does everyone keep
Oh my
addressing?
god! I would never, without your express permission and request, Salinger.
Know what I did. Meanwhile, at the other group, I'm going to infer a little bit. Ishtalan, as you have sat in belated silence beside Ava for the past few moments, you can infer your heart is pounding with the maybe the anger or the outrage after what she said. You realize after a moment that the thundering, booming of your own heart isn't your own heart. You're actually hearing it. There are noises that you're beginning to hear through the small openings above the door. There's still an hour left that everyone needs to rest. But you hear impact sound. Not close, but you hear it now that there's a break in the wall. You hear shrill sounds and the noises of chitinous claws brushing, squeals of the creatures, high-pitched calling to each other. There are moments when the dim light coming through the holes gets covered up as things are passing by. You can hear creatures crawling on the ceilings and the walls outside. Something is happening.
She hops up to her feet and is going to put her ear. I think the holes aren't straight, are they? They're kind of bent.
Ava, describe how you did that. I assumed there were just two holes next to each other.
Yeah, I think it's two holes, and Yeah, you can. If they're big enough to see through or allow light through, you could probably like put your eyes. I unintentionally made them almost like little binoculars, I guess.
Perfect. Well, yeah. So you can see through them. It's like a foot of stone, and so it's like not. You can see like you would looking through a tube, right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not a good perspective. However, you do catch movement as long as you look through. You see the quick scurry of small insects running along the ceiling and the walls. You see a larger one pass by, being bigger, moving as well. There's lots of activity outside. However, it's not coming to the door. It's going to the front of the temple. You hear an explosion. You hear... Is that the sound of shouting? Is that the creatures? You can't really tell.
Oh shit! I wonder if the big one's back.
This is not friendly to them.
Patrick didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Oh, whatever it is, though, it is not friendly to the bugs.
Oh.
And she presses her ear against it since the eye hole isn't very good, and it's just explosions of some sort. Outside.
Roll a perception check, Ishtar. To perception, you hear a shrill sound, a beast that you haven't heard before, something by the tone of it, the volume of the noise, something bigger than you've heard before. But with a 22, you make out it's not a beast, it's the sound of a train whistle. Going back to the other side. Kevin, did you brandwood again? Are you there?
No.
Kevin?
It's so
No.
close, though. What the hell?
No!
Yep. Kevin
It's
just
so
comes back.
close.
He just comes back to pose at this point.
Okay.
I'm so glad that this is recorded for posterity because you couldn't make it any more perfect than that.
We're gonna have to have a session where we like just make Kevin watch this, just rewatch this one.
I'm a little jealous.
We should
I feel
use-
like anytime I get frozen, I'm just in like the most horrible face.
Hold on. Patrick, call him on the phone.
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, I have. There was like one time Patrick froze, like, like. You always freeze, like, making stupid faces, but Kevin just looks very pensive.
I was trying to time this out so we don't have to go past 11, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's not answering.
Router was like, "Fuck you and your plan."
Yeah, he's dead. Okay.
Back to the train.
That's true. Okay. Well, yep, back in the... Okay, continue as though there was no interruption.
What do you hear?
Her mouth has kind of sagged open a little bit. Don't you hear this? And she sort of plasters herself up more against the wall and mumbles, "Why is there a train entering the temple?"
You hear another
Come-
explosion. It's closer now.
Ava, come on, quit fucking around. Just what are you hearing, honestly?
She looks around at friends who are presumably still sleeping, well, I guess they have no watch, but whatever sense of time says is not really quite ready to be awake yet. There's something going on, obviously, but there's not focused around us. There's something maybe at the front that maybe attacking. Explosions. And the train?
Well, I guess.
It doesn't sound any more real every time I say it.
Oh, with all the weird stuff going on, I mean, sure, I guess a train. She looks at the others and goes, I guess we just gotta wait. If we try to go now, I mean, there's a distraction, but if we try to go, everyone's so exhausted.
You hear another explosion. This one closer enough to where it shakes the ground just a little bit, and then you begin to hear shouting more distinct. You're able to pick out voices shouting. Must be coming from the front of the temple near the facade. You're able, Echelon, roll another perception check.
28.
28. You're able to pick out among the din, the noise, screeching of creatures, clicking of claws. Voice. Come back! To the mark! Come on the left!
Is that common, I assume?
Yeah.
Well, they're not bugs.
Do we just wait and see what happens? She looks at the others. I mean, we can at least,
I don't know how much that has to do with us.
Alright, so I guess we
I
wait.
suppose it could be. She doesn't recognize this voice, does she?
Does Ishtalan recognize this voice?
From whatever reality.
I don't think so. Shit. I don't remember. I don't remember the sequence of events if Ishtalan met this character. Tell you what, Ava, roll perception check. Hearing based.
Ishtalan hops up away from it and is pacing restlessly, so Ava has a chance to go up to the hole herself if she wants.
Yeah. And Ava, you can feel the weight of the tiara that you wear on your forehead. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. You try to hear, but maybe the argument with Ishtalan earlier had you too flustered. You can hear voices. You can hear that they're inside the temple, but you can't pick out any individual voices.
Yeah, she sort of shakes her head. She goes, No, if I go out, I don't know if I can come back.
You begin to hear the clanging of metal on carapace and on stone. Whatever fighting is happening, whatever is going on, is getting closer to the region of the temple that you're in. There's more shrill sounds of the insects outside. You can hear more of them swarming in the direction of the face of the temple.
She looks at Ishtalan and says, "It sounds like they're getting closer. I mean, whoever they are, and we're all against the bugs. Should we at least maybe we should help?"
I mean, I can do something. Can you?
Not really. But she looks at the others and says, "I think most people probably could do a little something."
Right now the others are resting, but Ishtalan, with your 28, after another few more moments, you are able to pick out a distinct voice. They're coming around. There's one on the left. It's Yev.
She actually just does that. Fuck.
What?
Take the stone down.
It's just...
Everyone get up! And she starts stomping around and shaking people, or probably just kicking them in the...
Ishtalan's voice is loud in the small room, very easy to wake you up.
The Focus Represent are here.
Yes.
shit. And so Ava starts
Shit.
to open the door. It's just a stone. Literally, anyone could open it. It's just a stone door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a sealed
No.
wall.
Yeah. You open it. So she opens.
Ava
it.
begins to gather her magic. She focuses. She reaches out. She pulls the door.
She casts hand. Not mage hand, just hand.
All right, so there's a grinding, sliding of stone as the door swings open your way. Behind it, the thick metal door that you'd close with the sword. As all of you are waking up, you're hearing the sounds of din of commotion outside. Shouts, the smash of something heavy in metal. Then boom, something heavy hits the metal door. Dents it inward. You hear more shouting. Esmond, roll a perception check.
Yes, we are on fire.
I'm gonna use
Natural one.
I'm gonna use an inspiration. Yeah, fuckers,
Sure,
I got
okay,
one.
Do it. Use your inspiration.
I appreciate that Chris is like,
Hold
I just
on,
want to give
hold
him
on.
some.
Chris was too excited.
No.
I didn't like that.
He was like, I want to give him some information. And Kevin, roll. You've got good perception. Roll for it. Sorry, go.
Sure. 24 is better. You pick out a voice, just one that you've heard so many times. Behind you! It's your mother.
Oh, Esmond is... Oh. Okay, hold on. I need to clarify, because I keep fucking losing power. Did we get a long rest?
No.
Okay, that's great. Esmond bolts up and is the first to the door.
Okay. As you get up, grabbing your things, moving towards the door, there is a sudden impact. The door flies open, bent inward on your side, and the corpses of 3 small insects splatter across the ground. In the doorway, you see an enormous hulking figure with horns arched up toward, wide and arched up toward the sky, a metallic leg made from train parts. It is Briggs Bramblehorn. He turns his eyes to you. He says, "They're here! They're alive! Fight!" Outside, there are insects swarming all over. You see three small creatures jump onto Briggs's back. He's flailing around, smashing them with him to be a big hammer made of like a long, rusty iron rod with like a train wheel at the top of it. You see Esmond's mother in armor that seems to be made from scraps from the workshop. She's spinning around, slashing the small creatures. You see Yev with the spear that Shalati had given her in hand, a wooden shield in the other hand, just fending back the creatures. You see farmers of Shepherd's End, dwarves from Alenge's Pass, and survivors from Mirwood. You see Bog and Jorn back to back fighting off different creatures as they come swarming all around them. What do you do?
Esmond is the first out the door. He pulls out Foresight and just starts swinging at anything that gets near his mother.
I rush past him as well.
Ishtalon, I think, very nearly shot Briggs because she doesn't recognize him and he looks pretty intimidating coming in. But then when he shouts, "It's them! They're alive!" she manages to jerk her aim just a little bit off to pick out one of the bugs that threw itself onto his back, and then continues to shoot and release, staying where she is, picking her targets around the figures of her companions. And this world's shepherds.
Alright, before too long, you have spilled into a melee with your friends and your family against the insects that are swarming all from a variety of corridors all around. Without your help, there's no doubt they will be overwhelmed and destroyed. So I would like each of you, as you join this fray, in whatever way you care to, describe your moments of your participation in this fierce battle for your lives.
I'll say that Esmond is like cutting through insect creatures left and right, looking for his mom. She's so short. As he cuts through, he eventually is able to find her. As she's getting harrowed, he is almost able to like or following like these after images. He's able to cut through these things and stands to her back before turning in, letting loose a bolt of lightning down a trail of incoming insects.
As you open your hand to release the bolt of lightning, your mother, the goblin, ducks down and rolls between your legs, stabs an insect that was coming up behind you as a blast of lightning goes down the hallway, incinerating a line of them.
It looks like she's almost cowering, I guess, still inside the room, not able to do very much, sort of looking out the side, and just doing the most pitiful of magic and trying to help people, occasionally trying to like pull one of the bugs off Bramblehorn when it gets on his back, or
tell us what we see. Like, give us moments. What is happening?
She stands hunched beside the door, looking out at all of the violence going on, trying to pick out where different people are and the bugs. And you just see her kind of like hesitantly kind of like reach her hand, and it's like she's trying to make sure she doesn't hit anyone, any of the allies, which is ridiculous because it's magic. She's not going to miss. But she hesitantly just sort of doing these things, and then it's just clear frustration as she just stands there with the door, feeling like there's nothing else she can really do. You see the frustration on her face as she's just shouting and trying to help as best she can.
Ishlon, you see your brother, Yev. You see he's so tall now, broad in the shoulders. He's got a spear in hand. He's got a shield, armor patched together. He's surrounded in bugs. They're running at him from all sides. You see him spinning, fending them off, stabbing, trying to make space to use the spear. What do you do?
Ishlon, when the space in front of the office had been cleared a little bit, moves out pace by pace, deliberately laying arrows into targets, usually finding the biggest ones, or sometimes taking out swarms if they're the easiest things to see. When she sights Yev, she hesitates for a second and then pulls back into a corridor and pops around it with each shot that she takes. But if he happens to glance over, she's going to pop back into the hall as quickly as she can, so that every once in a while, because the arrows flash through the insects, taking them out, green blood flying, and then the arrows vanish, so it looks sort of like the bugs are just popping of their own accord and falling down and dying. And if he looks around, she is pulled back around through the hallway and is going elsewhere.
Kabeth, you see the flash, the familiar. It seems like it's been so long since you've seen it. The uniform of the post and parcel. You see Bog and Jorn back to back fighting, throwing. There's just like one has a slingshot, the other one has rocks in his hand. They're fending off insects all around them.
Yeah, Kabeth charged after Esmond as he ran to his mother, and he sees them fighting side by side, and she positions herself nearby to keep one eye upon them and one eye out for everyone else. And she is swinging around this great sword, her armor polished to a high shine, her sword gleaming, and she is fighting not just for her life, but for the life of all of her friends with all of her fury that she can muster.
Casey runs out right behind Esmond, balls of flames in his hands as he's throwing them down each corridor, runs to the center of the group and bumps shoulders with Yev, looks up at him, claps him on the shoulder, and as he does, wings of flame erupt from his back and close around behind him as a bug burns up as it was trying to strike Yev from behind. He's like, glad you're here. Throws another ball of fire down the hallway. and just stays there in the middle with everyone else.
And on the other side, Silas, Peach, Salinger, you begin to hear noises coming from the front of the temple. And then there are strange voices, and you begin to see flickers of shadowy creatures as when the feeling in the pit of your stomach rises in, or not, as Silas, the feeling in the pit of your stomach rises into your chest. These strange, impossible creatures, they've arrived. They're coming for the three of you. As you are set upon by creatures of strange shadow, flickering, erratic in their movements, please describe the three of you fighting for your lives.
I think Silas would be the first one to, while we were talking, as he feels the sensation, he bolts up immediately and looks in the direction of the front of the temple, and he turns to both of you. All right, kids, fight on. Peach, I want you behind me. Sal, you're going to be in front. I'll be the middleman. We are going to go back and forth. We've got company. And he says this with a smile as as the sclera tears away, turns black. He pulls out his swords and he runs or dashes towards the opening and begins cutting away at the shadow creatures as they come in, blasting or launching some strange magics, holding some of them in place as his blades swing with a cold energy about them.
After Silas runs ahead, Peach takes a moment and nods and then looks at Salinger and says, all right, so, she's straightening his cravat and making sure that he doesn't have any dust on his shoulders, making sure that the area where his arm used to be is nice and tidy and pinned and, looks cute, looks intentional. And then Pete says, all right, do what you do. And she's going to cast heroism on him as she presses her fingers to his chest.
Yes. What does heroism look like when she casts?
It looks like very little, but it feels like a spark of electricity spreading from the point of where Peach's fingers touch. And it's feeling like your body was asleep, like a leg fell asleep, and suddenly that is relieved. Right? So there's that moment of shock, and then, whoa, I didn't realize that I had this in me. You didn't even realize that you could do more.
Sal looks a little miffed, like his face kind of scrunched at Silas, and then immediately turns to a smile as that spell kind of envelops him, which lasts just long enough for him to run his hand along the side of Peach's cheek. Then his eyes go gray, and he charges to the right, and Poppy slides to the left, and there's just this kind of echo back and forth, sweeping with wings and hammer, flanking Silas's movements while we wade through these creatures.
Excellent. Back on the other side, Samsel has taken the wand into her hand, and you see her standing near the doorway, and she sees one of those insects going for Casey, and you see she shakes it. Come on. Nothing happens. There's nothing left inside. You see her face drops as the creature leaps through the air at Casey's back. Then her eyes lift. She drops the wand and she points her hand, and a blast of magic is just strong enough to knock the creature aside, and it hits the wall instead of Casey scraping along the stone. All right. You see Albert ends up standing, and Ishlan, as you firing arrows. It's almost as though from your bow, 2 arrows go flying, striking one of the creatures. And then in a moment more, Alberic's come shoulder to shoulder with you, bow in hand, and the 2 of you just sending volley after arrows into the insects. You see Bane. He's moved out into the melee. He has Gromp's Tallbreaker in one hand, the golden shield of Brunhilde in the other. You see him spinning and slashing, knocking creatures away. At some point, several of them have converged on him, knocking him backwards into a corner, isolated from the others. He smashes one back with a shield, then hacks through another with the Gromp's Tallbreaker, the Dwarven Axe, but there's just too many. He's even backed up in the corner. There's a moment when he looks at so many of them. He glimpses the others surrounded, fighting off insects in all directions. And he closes his eyes. He says, Brunhilde, your strength, lend it to us. We need you. You, or anyone who will listen. And then the door that may have always been there opens in the floor. And from it, Araya comes flying upward. There is a golden light around her, and in this aura of light around her, you almost see the flash of a dragon's wings and tail. Eldritch blasts fire off in multiple directions out from her as she closes her eyes and prays, her robes flowing kind of in an unseen wind, as the golden light of these eldritch blasts hits a variety of creatures all around her. Within moments, the creatures in this room have been defeated. There's more, however, around in the temple, more coming. Esmond, Gwen, your mother, looks at you and you hear a voice within the tinny helmet. Esmond! Esmond! She moves closer to you, staring up, but you can see her glassy eyes through the slit in her helmet.
Hey, Mom. We gotta move. We gotta move before they more come back.
There's more of them. There's more outside. They overran the train.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry. I need you to repeat that. What did she just say?
He breaks away and goes, the train must move!
The train?
And so you see more creatures, but they're coming from the temple. They're coming from outside to reinforce what's happening here. We gotta do something fast.
We have to get to the portal.
You get the creatures coming across the ceiling. Gwen looks up at you, and then she runs past you, stabs one that's leaping for you, Esmond. It almost has gotten to you. She stabs it out of the air, pins it against the wall. You see 2 of the farmers from Shepherd's End get leaped on by 2 of the creatures, and there's splatters of blood against the wall as they're stabbing into them. Briggs Brandenhorn takes his big hammer and smashes one up into the ceiling. Gotta find a place we can defend. There's too many.
Casey, can we defend that chamber?
I mean, if the portal's there, we won't have to. Let's go.
All right. Before too long, you are fighting your way through the hallways that lead back into the chamber with the pulls and the tear. There are explosions of blast behind you. You can hear the shouts of some of the farmers trying to hold the line in the narrow passages. Before long, you guys have fought your way, killing through insects that are coming through the portal into the temple. And you can see that as you move into the room, there is a tear that reaches floor to ceiling, hovering above the old pools of water. The ground is almost heavy with sand. It's half filled the pool of water. Through the tear, you see a red world. Enormous insects. You see something that's got to be... No, from this distance, that's got to be 100... It's got to be 100 feet long. It's something like a centipede, and the entire sand dunes move with it as its many legs crawl against the sand, enormous pincers on its mouth, moving forward. They're smaller insects still coming through the portal, but it looks like a very large contingent of them coming up the hill towards the portal itself.
Oh, fuck, oh shit, oh no, oh god, okay. Esmond dashes to the portal, sliding to his knees, reaching into his satchel, and he pulls out the door jam device. And it's already set to do the transition thing. So he sets it down, and he sets a timer for...
Your mother shuts out. Measure twice, cut once.
Right, measure twice, cut once. Hop, up, up, up. Take an extra moment to make sure that everything is correct, and step away for it to go off in like 10 seconds.
Please roll an investigation check or Arcana, your choice.
34.
34. You checked the settings, you check them again, you check them twice. Everything is perfect.
Sure hope this doesn't blow up in all our faces right now. Okay. Everyone, step back, please! Press it, sets it, and dashes away.
Oh, man.
Alright, you set the device. Oh, good.
Okay. Ishtalon, roll an intelligence saving throw.
Ishtalon has cast Zephyr Strike on herself. And also...
What does it look like, Zephyr Strike, and tell us about this interaction.
As Ishtalon sees Esmond dashing to the tear and setting down, she stops just behind him, basically, or sort of off to the side a little bit so as to not distract, and shouts out a word in probably in Aquan, and says that there's a ripple around her, and for a moment the water of... Actually, it's not water anymore, is it? It's all sand. It's all been filled by sand.
Yeah, there's like basically
for
sand.
A moment, the sand around her feet stirs, and there's wisps of like a dark blue-green energy that stirs around her feet.
So this moment, we're going to say, so everything seems to slow down. Esmond has slammed the button on the device and stepped back. There are insect creatures moving toward the portal from the desert side. There are insect creatures moving through the hallways trying to reach you. You see another one of the farmers of Shepherd's End, a dwarf from Alenge's Pass, go down under the swarm of carapaced claws. You see Gwyn has moved to defend one of the doorways. Yev at another. You see Briggs Brownhelm smash another of these insect creatures, greenish blood splattering across the ceiling. Everyone except for Ava and Ishtalon and Esmond. Give us another little glimpse of this moment as you're holding the last defense as Esmond tries to make the device work, and this conflict of intention is beginning between Ava and Ishtalon.
I think Kabath is with Esmond's mother, trying to hold the door. Her blade is not just swinging around, but plunging into the carapaces of these creatures. She's doing her best to keep everyone safe, and she kicks the pile of dead carapaces together to try to make a little barrier and slow them down as long as she can.
Esmond, I desperately need you to blink. No.
Nope, he froze. Esmond froze again. Kevin wrote...
In the attendance, he wrote, yeah, gobbledygook.
He's screaming
Angry.
in rage in the gift check.
He's upset.
Oh no.
It's the same expression, though. It is still the same.
expression.
Maybe that's Kevin's thing. Maybe he's
out of it half the time. We just don't realize it because he always poses perfectly pensively.
That's true. Okay, we'll do what we can. Casey.
Yeah, as they make their way into the room, and Ez runs over to put the device down, Casey is throwing fireballs past him into the portal, striking bugs that are flying through. And he says, "Switch it over so we can get him back." Throws 2 more balls of fire and then looks over his shoulder to see who's coming in behind him.
All right. On the other side, well, we'll just do Peach and Salinger. Peach and Salinger, the shadow creatures are more. There are more of them than you thought they would be. Some of them are larger. You are slowly fighting a losing battle of attrition against an overwhelming number of these shadow creatures. Paint a scene for me, please, of you in this desperate fight for your lives.
I think Peach was initially staying back away from the 2, frontliners, Sal and oh my god, Silas. I almost said Esmond. Sal and Silas. But as the shadows pass deeper and deeper closer toward her, she is forced to use the last of her spell slots to try and cast shatter through the earth to try and destroy these, a good chunk of them, hopefully to clear some kind of path, to make some kind of break so that Silas and Sal can get any kind of handle on it and turn the tide.
And Sal's at first swinging his hammer almost in these large sweeping arcs, knocking them away and knocking them away. But the swings keep getting shorter and shallower, like they're getting gunked up in molasses until he can't pull the momentum to swing again. And he's just pushing through with his shoulder while Poppy is being weighed down. One of her elbows on her right wing goes down, and they're just trying to push through, but losing not the will, but just the ability to press forward.
As Salinger and Peach and Silas fight their way, retreating backwards closer and closer towards the portal, the only possible place left in this room, it's being overrun with creatures. Back on the other side, Ava and Ishtalon. It's almost as though this moment is happening in slow motion. You see the door jam device on the ground flickering with power. You see the refracting sunstone, yellow, rippling, as though within it is the power of the sun itself, growing and flaring out in all directions. Ishtalon, you see the portal beginning to change, the image of the desert flickering, rippling into something that begins to look like the place between.
Her face is intense. Her entire body is a blade pointed toward the portal. Just enough peripheral vision to see if anyone's coming up on her.
Yeah, as time seems to slow down around her, Ava sort of cans her eyes, realizing that what she was trying at first wasn't going to work, and she's only really got the one thing left. So she kind of thinks to herself, Shaletti, I hope this is what you want, and if it doesn't work, know that I tried. And she's gonna cast one last spell.
Tell us what this looks like.
Ava channeling a bunch of energy around her. Hair starts to move around her in spite of all the commotion around, the ground little pebbles start to kind of puddle on the air. Some energy obviously seems to be being drawn towards her as little motes of light change and channel inside of her. And she, in speaking words, softly but getting a little bit more loudly, a little bit more loud, until they're almost a shout. And then she pulls her hands together in a sort of a big clapping motion. She's gonna cast banishment at 7th level for Echelon and 3 other of the largest bugs in the room.
So Echelon, as you rush toward the portal, timing it so that, I'm assuming that you're doing this, that you would hit it just as it finishes. Please make the appropriate saving throw.
It's charisma.
You know, I have never actually used my UNT ability here.
Tell us more.
Mostly on account of I forgot to do it. Well. Just that she gets advantage on saves against spells. But we are not fighting against spellcasters for the most part here.
Okay, well.
What is your total?
It would be 17, unfortunately.
Okay.
Although,
Yeah.
or fortunately.
I don't know if the bugs pass. I'm gonna narrate as if they do.
It doesn't, they fail.
All right. Yep. All around her, she claps her hands, and the energy of the bugs, everything, the light inside of Echelon as she goes running forward, you can sort of see it channeling in for her, and all of a sudden, sort of pulls inside itself, and all of them come together with a and just disappear as energy goes around them. And Ava just takes a deep breath, holds it, and starts to count, knowing that she needs to let it go before too long.
Inches before Ishtalan reached the portal. Stolen away. Esmond, can you hear me?
We almost got him on his phone, I think.
It is tricky to respond through the phone.
He is messaging in the AFK thread, let me try. Can you message in the thread if you can hear us?
Cricket. You can only roleplay through emojis.
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Give us a thumbs up specifically if you can hear. Thank you, Peach.
The timing of this could not be worse.
It's amazing.
We got a thumbs up!
We got a thumbs up. Okay. Alright, Esmond, as you have slammed the button on the door jam device and stumbled backward behind you, glancing perhaps for a moment over your shoulder, uncertain, I'm so sorry, uncertain if the insects will overrun you and end your life before you've had time to do what you do. You see your friends, your family, defending the narrow hallways. You see Kabeth swinging her sword, and you see flashes of fire, arrows going down the hallways. There are so many of these insects, but all you need is a moment. All you need is a moment. As soon as you see the portal beginning to change, flickering erratically, shifting to lead to the place between, past your right shoulder, your hair is blown as Ishtalan goes running past you. You see, as time almost seems to slow down, you see Zephyrus's wings go from a blur of movement to almost seem to barely move at all. Ishtalan is trying to get to the portal. before anyone can stop her. And just before she reaches it, you see Ava's hand outstretched. There's a ripple of energy around Ishtalan. Ava has banished Ishtalan, and she vanishes with just a warble of energy there in the air where she was. You see the portal finish changing. No longer leads into the red desert, but instead leads to the place between. On the other side, you see Peach and Salinger and Silas fighting for their lives, being overrun by numbers, swarms, almost a cloud of shadowy creatures. You can't respond, so...
Do we notice that the portal has opened?
Yes. Behind you, Peach, there's a flicker and a flash of energy. Power's back. There's a flicker and a flash of energy, and you realize that the portal is open.
Peach would draw everybody's attention to it, and just say, "Hey, we've got a way out. We've got a way out. Come on. Let's get through this and just put our faith in Asmund. Come on."
Yeah. So Salinger, what do you guys do? Yeah. Or sorry, Casey, go ahead.
No, seeing it change, Casey would yell, There they are! Come on! Where's Shalati? Get her in here!
Peach would grab Salinger's hand if he allows it, but she would look at Silas and say, "Come with us. There ain't no Silas where we are."
Desperately fighting for their lives, covered in monsters. What do you do?
All right, covered in monsters, just fighting for our lives. Peach would holler to everybody, "We need to get out of here! Everybody out! All of us out! Give it a try! Everyone!"
All right.
Sal would hear that, make a roar of effort, and push up and out in every direction that he could as hard as he can, trying desperately to make a path, even if only for a second. And then he makes a whistle and a click sound and has Poppy just try to fly right through us, pushing the whole mess of us, doesn't care who she gets, who she doesn't, shadow creatures or not. He just tries to give her one gap, to give one gust, one flap of her wings and a swing of her tail to get us through the pass.
All right. As Poppy swings her tail, knocking almost a wave of shadow off of her back, she leaps forward, flashing mauve and blue feathers, basically almost tackling you and Peach and shoving you through the portal on the other side. Silas, I think, evades this, right?
I mean, the moment that the tear opens and Peach starts to say, come with us, it will be safer this way," he just turns and he shouts at the top of his lungs, "Run through the portal! Close it now!"
All right. As the two of them, as you see Peach and Salinger knocked basically through the portal by Poppy. If someone were looking through from the other side at Silas as a wave of spectral, erratic, shadowy creatures are descending upon him, what would they be seeing?
They would be seeing someone fighting desperately to make sure that nothing gets by them, throwing themselves onto attacks, slicing down the creatures as they begin to overpower and stampede over him before a blast of dark Icarus magic erupts in front of him, trying to hold the creatures at bay, as every glance that he steals back towards the portal is a mixture. There's a mixture of excitement in his eyes, and also a want, a longing to follow, but it's quickly suppressed by the excitement of the battle.
Esmond, Clockrite, as you stare through the portal at the back of Silas, as he is set upon by what seems to be an unending wave of creatures of shadow, you realize it's just as bad on that side as this side. And if Silas goes down, what happens next? You hear your friends fighting all behind you, an urgent, desperate battle for survival. What do you do, Esmond Clockrite?
The device still needs time. Oh, fuck, the device needs time to recharge. Fuck, I did not think of that, actually. Shit. Oh.
Zephyrus has come off of your shoulder and is flopping on the air and right beside you.
Fuck. As
You hear screams of farmers in the hallways.
Fuck. Oh god. Esmond just plants Foresight into the ground, and he tries to focus every ounce of magic that he has remaining. As he's getting ready to launch the strongest lightning bolt that he can summon to try and shut the portal immediately, but the only thing on his mind, the only thing that's been on his mind for so long now, is he just wishes he had more time. It's the only thing that he needs, and he could solve all this right now. But in this moment, he's just so desperate, so he's just trying to summon as much power as he can to create as much electric energy to shutter this portal for good.
Alright. As you channel the magic, lightning, the element closest to you, begins to crackle along your skin. As you open your eyes, Foresight gripped in your hand, and point the sword toward the portal. I'd like, as you attempt to do the calculations, because it's not just lightning that you need, it has to be the right frequency, it has to be perfect. Please make an Arcana.
+31.
Plus 15, that is 31. There is a burst of lightning that flares out from Esmond's hand, or through the sword, passes through the ripple in the air where Ishtalon should have been, strikes the portal as Silas is fighting off creatures in every direction, spinning with blades in hand. The portal crackles erratically. You see the image in it shifting, changing. You see it beginning to shrink. And then, on the door jam device, you see all of the dials cranking high. That's not good. That's very, very, very bad. You see the portal begins to shift unstably, flickering, changing, and then it spreads upward, cracking through the mountain above you. You see it going through the ground, spreading outward in multiple directions. The image inside is neither the desert nor the place between. It changes into something white. You see Zephyrus at your shoulder, flies forward into the portal, and then light begins to flare brighter and brighter, filling the space all around you until there's nothing to see, nothing to hear. Baxtermere, where were you on the day that Esmond broke the world?
Bax is sprinting through terrain, dodging terrain as boulders and trees are flying, being thrown at him from a giant red creature with 4 arms from one of these tears in these mountains that these villagers had told him about. He sprints and slides down a valley, nearly losing his composure as the monster just straight up jumps down right behind him. And he, just regaining his balance, dashes forward, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Now!" As these farmers, these villagers that he had come across, begin launching boulders from the tops of this valley onto the creature, and just before they all begin to impact, his right eye flashes and cosmic mist begins to burn through the air as he turns into a smoky version of this same mist and teleports towards the end of the valley, quickly turning to see the beast stopped, buried under all this rubble. He sees the villagers at the top of the valley, triumphant, jubilant in defeating the creature, before one of them is quickly crushed by a boulder that was thrown up from the bottom of the valley. He turns and sees that the creature wasn't stopped and has in fact grown twice its size, so he turns and with almost an eerie excitement in his blood begins to run forward, and as he does, that mist begins to envelop him as he jumps into the air and a powerful Yeti fist cracks into the jaw of this creature.
Carter Blackwood, where were you on the day that Esmond broke the world?
That day it was early. So early it was basically night. Carter Blackwood is sitting in an office somewhere in what used to be one of the Baroness's residences in Gallering, but has now been repurposed for more Republican reasons. So Carter is sitting at the desk for a few moments, and then we hear a knock at the door. This early in the morning, it can only be a courier. So Carter answers it herself, and as the courier comes in, he passes off a sheaf of papers to Carter. And as he does so, the courier he mentions the fact that there is no fire in the room, despite the fact that it is bitterly cold in Gallering today. He mentions we can have somebody come, we can have somebody stoke the fire, it will be an easy thing. But Carter turns him down. The fireplace has been blocked by a chase lounge for weeks at this point, and Carter is halfway through renovating the entire room. All of the Baroness's old decorations have come down, and Carter has requested a few of her favorite pieces from her home and from the estate too, both places. So she takes these papers, dismisses the messenger, and moves to the window. She flips through the papers in front of her. Many of them have wax seals that she breaks. We don't see what she's reading. She puts the papers down on her desk and moves to the window. She opens it a crack and then more, letting in the cold air even though it is freezing in Gallering. And in this pre-dawn light, Carter Blackwood lights a single cigarillo, letting the smoke rise out into the air as the sun is just rising in Gallering.
Olin Rue Fox, where were you on the day that Esmond broke the world?
In a dingy, damp basement, a note rings out. joining the torchlight in its dance from stone wall to stone wall. A large, imposing figure and a hook-nosed cloaked man, holding a stringed instrument, loom over a beaten, unconscious half-elf, whose filthy brown hair is pulled back in a long ponytail. The mask of a fox sits kilter on the side of his head. Cracks of gold running throughout betray its shattered past. A second note. I'm gonna take a finger or two. The raspy-voiced human opens his cloak, revealing a necklace of fingers of all shapes, sizes, and colors. The nails on each are finely manicured and painted a shiny black. He removes an ornate pair of hooked shears and snips twice. I just sharpened them. He grins at the massive, stoic figure next to him, who simply grunts in response. The hook-nosed man holds his head, his irritation rapidly increasing. Pip, why'd you have to remind me? Boss said he keeps his fingers. Boss loves his music. Repeat after me, Pip. He grabs the giant's head in both his hands, stares intensely into his eyes, then calmly states, he keeps his fingers. A wretched cough from the half-elf breaks the moment and returns the grin to the hook-nosed man's face. Kitten, you're awake. Have a nice nap, did we? He swiftly pivots, striking the kneeling half-elf in his gut, doubling him over and intensifying the cough. Disc. Boss says you get to keep your fingers. He grabs the half-elf's ponytail and jerks his head back. But he didn't say nothing about this. With one smooth motion, the scissors shear through the hair, releasing it into the man's grasp. He howls with glee and begins whipping the half-elf's face with his newly acquired trophy. Ha ha ho ho. A few more pathetic coughs escape the half-elf, painfully opening the one eye that's not swollen shut. And he stares at the result of such a barbarous act. Oh, are you crying, kitten? Hey, Pip, I think I see a tear. The half-elf's cough slowly transitions into a sanguine smile, blood dripping from the corners of his mouth as he chuckles. Dear, he says weakly. The stench of booze fills the room as his head bobs up and down. What's that, kitten? The half-elf begins humming. Shed tears for poor tear eyes and Dell. Throw jeers at those to whom she fell. To the walking plant and the sycophant, may they wear the hangman's wire. The hook-nosed man grins and joins in the song. Ho ho, you know it! Wrapping his arm around the half-elf as if they were old drinking buddies. Shed tears for poor dear eyes and Dell. Throw jeers at those to whom she fell. The half-elf trails off. And to the glowing witch and that pirate bitch, may they burn upon the pyre. Shed tears, shed cling. The half-elf hits the ground hard as Pip brings down the stringed instrument across his head, clattering to the ground and breaking strings. Pip, why do you always gotta ruin my fun? He kicks the floor at half-elf and then leans in real close. Boss is right, you know. You do sing real pretty. But if you don't come up with some coin real soon, that ain't gonna matter. tapping each finger with his scissors to punctuate the words. 3 days, standing and brushing the dust off his cloak. 3 days, kitten. The hook-nosed man gives a casual wave goodbye, leaving the half-elf curled into a ball around his broken instrument, coughing and humming into the bloody dirt floor.
As the shards of the lute lie on the ground and a bottle on its side begins to pour liquor out onto the deck of a swaying ship far in the eastern sea beyond the edge of the map. Thalia is on the deck of the Tide Song. There are lizard creatures, muscular, swarming onto the boat. She has sword in hand, blasts of magic, spinning in every direction. At one point she spins, and behind her, a Varian cuts through a nearby creature, sending a splash of blood across the deck, and ducks down to a kneel. She rolls across his back, and the two, spinning out, back to back, face off the creatures coming on to the ship in this unknown land. Now for a character that we've never seen before. Where was Ray on the day that Esmond broke the world?
How am I supposed to follow Isaac? Man. Mosrael moves through the quiet streets of Gallering at night. It's very cold, and she pulls her red woolen robe closer around her. The large hood is pulled over her blonde hair, and the emblem of the Church of the Kindled Flame is embroidered upon the front. She's carrying a heavy leather bag, and although the streets are not well lit, she can see perfectly fine. She makes her way to a small home and knocks on the door. A man opens it, sees her robes, and invites her in. "Thank you for coming. She's right this way." His face is gaunt, as is the face of the young woman lying in the bed. Ray kneels down next to her and feels for her pulse. The woman gently stirs. Oh, good. She's not passed on yet. Although, maybe it would be better if she had. She sighs and looks the girl over, opens her pouch and pulls out a small glass bottle. She turns towards the family and says, "This will ease the suffering, but I'm afraid there's not much else I can do." She lifts the woman's head and tilts the bottle down her throat, and the woman murmurs again, smiles, says, "It was worth it." Ray stands up and turns towards the family, and behind the mother's skirts, a small face peers out. And suddenly Ray understands. She moves towards the door, but before she goes, she pulls a small, rough woven bag out of her pocket and reaches in and takes 2 items out, puts them back into her own pocket, and says, "This'll get you through for a while." She'll miss the food for the week, but she's taken enough to get by. And hopefully the meager root vegetables will sustain the family a little longer, even if it can't save their eldest daughter. She passes through the door and heads out into the night.
Where were you on the day that Esmond broke the world?
Warbler is surrounded by wildflowers in the ruins of an old burned down tavern. Swinging at the front of it, next to the collapsed doors, is a wooden engraved swan with flickering embossed flames. What probably used to be brass or gold or some metals is now rusted over to a greenish hinge, dots and specks of rust. He plucks up a flower here and there, shakes his head, plucks a leaf out. Kneels down. So, I mean, things could have been a whole lot worse. There was that time that giant lizard monster attacked the boat we were on our way to stop those swans. And no, wait, that was me. But everything turned out okay. We stopped him, staring at the flower, talking to it. Stands and walks through it, the space, the overgrown vines, and the vines move with him. They tilt and follow as he keeps to kind of mutter and talk to himself. He recounts more and more of the stories, things that he remembered, things that he cherished, things that he cared about. He can smell the cidery. He can almost taste it. He can hear the voices of his friends, but doesn't see them. Wanders out through the ruin, out of the tavern, and in the distance there are aqueducts, water flowing from them, and he just stares at it and smiles. I want to go home.
Sav, where were you the day that Esmond broke the world?
She has decided that enough is enough, and she can feel the press of time and the changes of the world working against her, against all of them. And unfortunately, sometimes when there's no time and there's not really much left, you just have to gather your guts and plunge in. And so she has prepped herself carefully, stuffed her bag full of rations and anything else that she thinks might be useful, steps forth from the closest point that she can get to in the shroud and lifts off from the ground, shooting up high first before she starts arrowing toward the tower, rising far in the distance. At a certain point, she slams through a shimmering, barely visible ripple in the air, passes right through it. Looks like she's holding her breath, but it's hard to tell because the goggles are on her eyes. Her clothes are snugged up around fur against the chill of the air at these high altitudes. Shakes her head a little and keeps going until, as the ground below starts to soften, the snow melting away, it starts greening, becoming warm. Not so much up here, but she can tell that it's not nearly the wintry landscape that it was not all that far back. As she flies over, something catches her attention on the ground, and she pauses, hovering in the air. There's a little tumble of white, maybe just some of the debris from the tower as it fell, but something in her gut. She takes a moment and drifts down, down a little bit, and then realizing that time is of the essence, just drops suddenly, looking like she's tumbling before she jerks to a stop right above it, and then lands lightly on the green grass. She starts to sweat a little bit and loosens the fur-lined tunic that she wears and kneels down, putting a gloved hand on this octagonal shape, a little dented, chipped almost pieces here and there, a blue dim sphere embedded in one corner of it. She sighs and says, "Oh, my poor wee friend. Well, I hope it's you, anyway. I suppose I can't tell, not rightly. But let's see if we can get you back working and see if it's really you." She looks up at the sky, looks up at the tower in the distance and back. I doesn't see anything right now, but do I? No, friends are friends, and some things are important. And so she picks up the inert little octagonal shape and starts trundling over to a copse of trees, like some low shrubs, where she stops, goes through a ritual that some folks have seen her go through dozens of times before. A half bubble pops up out of the ground, which she hastily tries to pull some of the shrubs around to disguise, and she pops in to taking the inanimate object with her, setting up lights around her with little touches, bringing out things from her bag, setting them around, touching them and marking them with a tool that makes them start to glow with a soft light. She sets up, within minutes, an entire little traveling forge tinker station, which she carefully places the octagon on, and says, "All right, let's get a look at you, see if we can get you back to working shape." And then the light comes.
Ethan Fairchild, where were you on the day that Asmund broke the world?
Well, start with Roland, who wakes up to another perfect day. He's laying inside the large bed. Windows are all open. Breeze gently coming in. Takes a deep breath. Sighs. Looks over the space where Vivian typically would be, but she's traveling for the next week, 2 weeks? I can't remember. Gets up and makes his way down and outside. It's one of those days where there are no real responsibilities other than the ones he makes for himself. And today he's going to be spending time on his property, clearing brush, fixing up fences and posts. Sort of meanders about, works the entire day. Some of it might be back-breaking work, but when you're his size, it's a lot easier. As the sun starts to set, he remembers that tonight the family's coming over for dinner. So he begins to make his way back towards the house. You can see the lights on inside. See some of the carts parked out in the front as he approaches. He pauses just for a bit. The sun setting back behind him, looking off in the opposite direction as the stars in the night on the other side. He just pauses to sort of take it in, how good it feels. Making his way inside, he finds Ellie meandering about in the kitchen. "Oh, you're here. Good. You're almost on time? Come on. Food's gonna be cold before you. But change first. Please." She walks into the other room, and as she goes through the swinging door, she calls back out, "Even Ethan's here!" The smile on his face falters for the first time that entire day. Just for a moment. He thinks. He does as she says, makes his way up, change quick wash just to get some of the stink off of him before making the way to the dining room. As he approaches, he hears all the voices he's familiar with. The loud ones, Eric, Victoria, not arguing, but trading fish stories, trying to one-up one another. As he enters, you can see sitting on one side, Eric on the opposite, Victoria, and to her left, Ellie. At the end, a small figure, doesn't seem to attend very much, and at the opposite, his chair. He makes his way down the long table, noting that pausing beside Victoria, who has her feet kicked up with her chair back on top of the table. He doesn't say anything, he doesn't look at her, he just sort of stops right next to her. She looks back over her shoulder and takes either foot off and puts the chair back on the floor. He doesn't see it, but he can feel it to know that she's giving him the look that says, I did this, but not because you made me, because I wanted to. Which is a lie that both of them can accept. He makes his way to the head of the table, takes a seat in the giant chair, one that was crafted with his own hands, and with contributions from the people he cares about. Leathers were Victoria, and a lot of the crafting Eric took care of. Some of the finer little finesse details, really just cute adornments that he didn't particularly like, but Ellie seemed fond of, he left on. He sits down on the chair. Everyone sort of begins eating. Victoria and Eric, along with Ellie, all carry the conversation as the heads of the table both sort of eat in relative silence, just taking in and observing. The food is delicious. Victoria had a deer that was prepared, one that she killed and brought back herself. She's an incredible hunter. Every time they get venison, he thinks of this joke Ellie told him. It was Ethan that told her, and he thought it was so dumb. But it made her laugh. It's just an image, really. It said something about her not really using a bow, but instead just sneaking up on the deer, tapping it on the shoulder, knocking it out with her fist. Ellie thought it was hilarious, and again, he just thought it was kind of dumb. But over time, it stuck with him, and the more he thought about it, the more it kind of made him laugh, because as absurd as it was, you could also kind of see it. Anyway, the food was there, prepared, delicious, fire roaring beside them, lively chatter of all the siblings. Finally, as the night wore on, Eric was the first to turn in, pushing himself back from the table. He stands up, taking a giant glass of wine and downing it, belching loudly, tosses the glass back onto the table, and pats himself on the stomach. Well, I should be going. Got a table I'm working on. He slurs just a little bit. Ellie immediately calls out, I know you're not just going to leave everything on the table. Eric doesn't seem to acknowledge this at first. He's strutting around the other side, already making his way out. Bitch, he says. Victoria leans forward, looks like she's about to come out of the chair, across the table, and at his throat. It's a word she hates. Roland just sort of holds up his left hand just slightly. She pauses, doesn't move, but her eyes stay locked on him as he makes his way down to the edge of the table and rounds it, slapping Ethan on the back really hard. See you later, Spud. He starts to stagger out towards the door. When they hear it shut behind him, Victoria relaxes just a bit. Fucker. Roland says, he's doing the best he can. He's an asshole. He's drunk. She's like, Shouldn't let him get away with something like that. He does it to piss me off. Roland again says, he's doing the best he can. You know how it is. Runs out of things to say. Thinks people aren't gonna realize he's not that smart. And just says something to piss you off. Ellie looks over and says, he is getting better. I mean, you didn't try to kill him until after the meal was already done. So, this Victoria actually relaxes. Ellie has that effect on it. Seems to be able to calm people down. But, she says, we should be going too. After all, we have an early morning. Going to town. The market. She looks at Victoria, looks backward at her sister, and rolls, fuck. She's like, We're gonna pick out some dresses. Kill me, Victoria says. And, if I'm not mistaken, Ellie repeats, I think that the bet was, if you lose, I get to pick out what you're wearing? As if remembering a slide, Victoria shoots her eyes towards Ethan and goes, you little shit. I know you cheated. I don't know how. I know that you cheated. Ellie says, bet's a bet. Looks over towards Ethan and gives him a small wink. She starts to pick up, as does Victoria, the plates, but once again Roland stops and just says, no, don't. Just leave it. I'll take care of it. The sisters look at each other and, if you insist. They start to make their way out. As Victoria heads down to the end of the table, she turns, gives a quick salute. Roland walks past and places her hand on the top of Ethan's head, as if to acknowledge him. Ellie turns, does a small curtsy towards Roland, Sir Roland, as she calls him. For some reason, he's not sure why. She runs up and throws her arms around Ethan, around his neck, squeezes him tight with one cheek next to the other. Ethan hugs her back, and she loses her balance just a little bit as he seems to hold on to her for just an extra second longer than she was expecting. But afterwards, the two of the sisters say their goodbyes, head out into the night. Before long, it's just two figures sitting at opposite sides. One looking like a funhouse mirror version of the other. A giant, extraordinarily handsome and strong, and the other just sort of average in so many ways. Ethan picks at the food on his plate, picks up a small bite and pops it in his mouth, chewing it, nods his head towards Roland. Says, good. Roland, just level-eyed looking at him, just says, perfect. Ethan nods in acknowledgement. He looks around, pauses, as if just taking it in, and says, I should be going too. Still with his eyes locked on him, just patiently, Roland says, you don't have to. Ethan kind of looks down at his feet for a second, shakes his head, and he says, no. No, I do. I can't stay. Why? He asks. Ethan sits back, looking around the room, the perfect meal, this wonderful house, the family all around him. He says, because this isn't how it goes. I did too much, you know. This isn't This isn't how it works. Roland says, but it does. It is. It can. He picks up the glass and takes a sip. Useless. I think that was his favorite word. Useless. No good. Pathetic. But yeah, useless. I think that was his favorite. He's right. Everyone in town is right, too. Ultimately, I guess. The things they said. I was a liar, a cheat, a thief. I guess I saw something I didn't. Because I didn't do any of those things, you know? But still, that's what they said. I wasn't always bad. I didn't try to be, at least. First time I hurt someone, I really hurt someone, was back in Lawrence Crossing. There's this guy, and Talis was working at the inn behind the bar. It was late at night, and the guy was drunk. And he just was giving Talis a hard time, saying something about money and the booze, arguing about trying to shortchange him or something. You know, Talis is just like, his parents did some stuff to him, you know, so when the guy's yelling at him, he just kind of shrank. And I watched it. This guy's kind of getting off on it. Like, the more he shrank, the more the guy just leaned in on him. I don't know, I didn't think, just sort of, at some point it grabbed a bottle and smashed it across his head. He's fell down. I didn't know if he was dead or something, but I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. I just dragged him outside and I poured more booze all over him and made it look like he fell. I started to clean it up, told Talis to go and get help, say that someone had fallen. You know what happened after that? Nothing. Guy didn't remember. I spent 3 days feeling sick to my stomach, thinking something was gonna find out. They were gonna flog me or kick me out. Or, I don't know. But no, nothing happened. Except Talis started looking at me like I was some kind of hero. All the things I tried, all the good things, and every time I was useless. I do this. The swans come. We gotta leave on the road. Rue's making money. Rowan's making money. Everybody's pitching in. Garbon's giving lessons. Rowan's a bouncer. Everybody has something they can contribute, except me. I just walk around on the streets begging for money or trying to pick up a job or something, but I can't help. There it is again, useless Ethan. It stays that way. Stays that way till Last Harbor. I'm working some shit job and this guy comes in. People are chasing him. Turns out the guy did something pretty bad. Some people were gonna pay good money. Kill him. So, I collect. Now I got a new job. Now I can contribute. Now I can throw money into the pool. More than anybody. And I'm not a bad guy, right? I mean, at this point, I'm still doing it. I'm doing this thing. I'm doing this thing where it's not good, but I'm only hurting bad people. Try to say that to yourself, at least. Then we get to Northgate. Kill Carbon. Almost everybody else, it seems like. And now it's Swans. Now I can kill them. Because, I mean, I didn't start this war, right? They started it. They're the ones attacking us. Like, we can't run. We tried that. Couldn't hide. So fuck them. Yeah, they knew what they were signing up for. They're soldiers. I'm not a bad guy. It's not my fault. And they took Danica. After that, I made a choice. I didn't care what I did anymore. I just wasn't gonna lose. It's just that light. No one was gonna take that. I can't stay because I meant that. I can't stay because of what I did. We're on the ship about halfway, gathering halfway to getting her back. The others go off. We stay with the ship. Turns out, some rats got into the food, so we didn't have any. A couple of different places we could try. We only had enough food for 1 or 2 days. So we pick one, we go north. The village is gone. But there's a sign pointing to one that's not on the map. Follow it. And there's like this little island kind of tucked away back in the hills. It's surrounded by caverns on all sides. It's like only accessible by this little bridge. And the people we meet there, they're all happy and like nice and cheerful, and they're all giving, and it's like everything's perfect there. We tell them we need some food, and they say if we can stay just a couple days, they can give us as much food as we can carry. They got a harvest coming in. That's all the time we got. We just have 2 days, and we gotta get back, otherwise the ones we left behind, they're gonna starve. It's just the 3 of us. So we stay the first day and everything's great. You know, everybody's so nice, it's a little unnerving. The second day, start to feel a little more relaxed, like maybe, you know, this place is pretty good. As we go towards the night, we gotta go towards this, it's like little hall where everybody's gonna meet, have a feast. There's like a few dozen people on this island, you know? I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe. And all the adults are all gonna go there, and all the kids go somewhere else. We get in the hall, we meet the guy who's in charge of the whole place. He's like everybody else, he's all nice. Mort welcomes us, and there's all this food everywhere. All these tables and like couches and chairs and little plush things to sit on. And everybody takes a seat and we all just start eating. And at some point, I don't know when it happens, like they start getting like even more friendly. People just start touching each other. Food's delicious. Every time you talk to somebody, it's like their voice is music. You start to feel great. Like you're drunk or something, I don't know. And people start taking their clothes off. It's like this orgy starts to happen all around. All these people, just like everyone starts to, and you'd think it's insane, but like the time it just feels normal. It's like this is supposed to happen. All these people around. And I remember these people like starting to like take my clothes off. And I just had this thought. I was like, yeah, I don't really need to help Danica. I don't really care. And that hit me. And it was so sharp. Like it just popped in my head. Like that explicit. And when it did, I snapped out of it and looked up, and the guy in charge, he wasn't a guy. It's like some kind of monster. You see this like energy or something that was connecting him with everybody else. It's like the opposite of the suffering. And the more happy people were, the more it seemed to feed it. And it started coming back like this. Everything's okay. You just stay, just relax. Just this is good. You want this. Before it could take over, jump across the table and I stab it. I think it's in the heart, but I think maybe its heart wasn't in the same place, or maybe I missed, I don't know. But it didn't die. It just screamed. And when it screamed, everyone in the entire room, its voice came out all of their mouths. Everyone except me. Me and the other two I came with. And then I stabbed it again. But it's too late. I don't know what happened, but it's like something snapped, and instead of all the good stuff, it was nothing but bad. They just went mad. They started clawing at each other, themselves. Like people just started trying to rip each other apart, mostly us. It's like its last thought was hurt them. So we're in this room, and suddenly like all these people, these half naked people just trying to fuck each other. Now suddenly they're all just like climbing over, trying to like rip at different parts of us, just biting, and they're just people, man. They're just like normal people. So it's a fight that we can still win. When it's done, there's all this blood everywhere and all these people are dead. And all this adrenaline, the only sound there is Taryn kind of crying. And this thud sound of a guy in the corner just beating his head against the wall. So we make our way out. And you think it's over. You know, we gotta get out of there. But as we walk out the door, it wasn't just the room. It wasn't just the room that went crazy. As we walked down the stairs and looked out across, the doors of the school burst open. And all of them came running out. Those little carving knives, those little razors that they used to whittle with. They just came screaming towards us. Gar and Tarth, they just took off, they ran. But there wasn't anywhere to go. You know? There's nowhere to run to. They found some place between a couple buildings. I think it was Taryn who was standing there, his back to the alley, holding a three-legged chair, just trying to keep him back. He couldn't bring himself to fight. He just kept saying, no, no, please, no. Like some god would help him and just make all this crazy shit stop. But God didn't hear him. I did. And I needed 3 people to sail the ship back. So they survived. And as we left, put together whatever supplies, left that little dead island behind. Darren hadn't looked me in the eyes since. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because I'll do whatever I have to. I'm not gonna lose. Not in this life. But I can't stay here. Because when I go, I gotta pay for it. All the shit that I did. All the people I hurt. I gotta pay for that. And until I do, I don't get to stay in a place like this. So that's why I can't stay. I owe too much. I'll do whatever I have to in life, but I'm not gonna cheat in death. I'll take that on. I'll pay that debt. I hope I'll see you again. But if I don't, just know that this like moment, this will be one of those things that I hold on to when I'm in that dark place, paying for what I did. Take care, everyone.
In another time, in another place, there's a boy who's been dressed in his very best robes. His mother has made sure his hair is just right. There are others watching as he ascends the small steps. Behind the priest, robed in white, is a great white cathedral. Almost as though the stone itself is made of light. This old priest reaches out and ruffles the boy's hair, crouches down. What is an angel? You've seen them, I think. Fear them? Yes. Winged, beautiful, terrible things. Not so strange that you might be afraid. So many men who look upon them are blessed with such exquisite madness. But it's from these angels your soul has come. Your flesh, it was once clay, not so different than stone in the road. But as the angels said into you, put life. Here in the north, in the garden, in the Seraphel, there's wonder and plenty. Your life be a wonderful thing. But if you were to travel from this place, child, far into the south, into the autumn lands, the sun grows low, there dwell the blasphemers, the people who don't accept the love of our angels. For one day when these moments of your mortal flesh are done, and you stand before the angel of doors, I want to know what you've done for this world. For beyond it, look there into the sky, child. Each of those gleaming lights among the shards, each of those an angel that defends this world from what is beyond. You see there is a beast that lives in yesterday, that seeks to devour everything that is here. And so when you are called upon for the Church of the White Crown, child, to take up a sword, to serve the angel of war, to defend your home, you know that you will live on forever in the White Tower with these angels. And you'll be born again, a soul that never dies. You have been so many things, and so you will be, so long as you are loved. It's in some other place, beyond time. Esmond Clockrat. You've had nothing but time. You've had so much time to think again and again and again. All of your calculations were perfect. Everything that you did was perfect. What happened? It was impossible. It was impossible. But in this place that's nothing but white, you're not alone. And there's a woman in black armor, long golden hair, pointed ears. Can you hear her voice? She says, I tried to kill you once. I would have killed all of you. Everyone, everywhere, everyone, to stop what you did. But I don't have the luxury of hatred, and I don't have the luxury of pity. I have searched for you. And she extends a hand, opens the black gauntlet for palm. She says, come with me. And I'll help you find your friends and save them from what you've done. And that's where we'll end for tonight. Everyone gets an inspiration.
I gotta jump off, but I just want to say, I feel like you're putting a lot of blame on Esmond, breaking the world. I don't like that.
Yeah, geez, Esmond. Gosh, can't
Yeah, yikes. At least you've got backs to return to.
leave this guy alone.
Beautiful roleplay, everybody. I'm excited to introduce you to my future character.
Hooray.
When's the next? We're not going to be playing for a little while, right, Chris?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly when. I'm going to need some time to... The next thing I want to do requires a lot of front-end work. And I haven't had time because of school. So I'm going to kind of see how the pace of school is, do some writing, get the stuff set up. Because I would not be ready to DM it like next week. I don't know exactly when.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. And yeah, we weren't sure if we would have time or it would make sense to introduce, but Duff might be joining us from time to time. And so we've been working on the character.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Show your face, Duff.
No, he's
Reveal
gonna,
the mystery.
He's gonna chill for tonight.
That was so excellent. I want to stay and talk. I have to go though.
It is very late. Yeah.
I also need sleep. Good night, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for an awesome session.
Awesome. Good night.
Nice
Good
to
night.
meet you.
Nice
are
to meet you.
awesome.
Looking forward to
Good
seeing you
stuff.
next at some point, Duff.
Good night, all.
Yes, see you.
See you again when I see you.
Good
Ye-
night. Good night.
Great work, everybody. Good night.
Yeah. It's good stuff, Chris.
Yes. I see.
That was
Mo's making strong appearance.
Oh yeah. There he is. There he is. I put on the necklace for Rue. Because this is really the only difference. I think towards the end I started wearing this shirt for Rue as well. But he has the necklace, so
Excellent.
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Good.